Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Milliseconds. That's basically what it came down to. And also a little, in my opinion, a little clock mismanagement. I feel like they started it not on...
No, they didn't start it on time.
Yeah.
I've been watching it all morning.
I have too. Now, I don't have the angles that, you know, the officiating crew has, but there's a lot of complaining going on. And I'm trying to think how I would react if I were Auburn, right? If it was A&M that in that situation. And I hope I'd look at the clock and be like, oh man, they're right. God dog it. I wish we would have gotten that off a half, millisecond faster. It was close, but they didn't start it.
Yeah, they didn't start the clock on time. I don't think it was as close as it should have been. They didn't start the clock when the guy touched the ball. And, if you watch it, he touches it, that's as he's getting ready as he's shooting, but he catches it, comes down, kind of turns, sets himself, then jumps up, and he does all this in a half a second.
Yeah.
And so they do start it late, and then I think what a lot of people got crazy about is not only did they start it late, and I think the officials saw that too, but the game's over when the lights come on the backboard. And so the clock wasn't that you were watching and wasn't in sync.
I don't like how it came down to that shot, but let's talk about this team in the second half, because that second half resurgence, they were the better team for 90% of the first half. And then what was it, about 3 minutes left in the first half, Auburn made their run, took the lead going into halftime, extended that lead in the beginning of the second half to 16. And then A&M gets a bucket, a couple steals, a couple threes, an 11-0 run.
In 28 seconds, very much like Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Against Northern Iowa.
And then what was the run? It was like 35 to...
I think it was it 35
31 to 6?
31 to 6. A 31 to 6 run. In the blink of the eye, that team was not only back in the game, they were leading, and they had a nice lead.
They got up by, I think, 11.
Yeah.
And then what's frustrating, though, is that they even had to have so much angst. I mean, give them all kinds of praise, laud them for coming back, for going on that amazing run and taking the lead and getting up 11, and understanding, especially at home, Auburn's going to try. They're going to counterpunch, but I think it was Dominguez hits that three with a minute to go.
And you think it's over.
You have an 8-point lead with a minute to go, and then you start missing the front end of one-on-ones. You start fouling, and they're you're like, what are you doing? They did some things in their win against LSU late that just didn't make sense. I was a little surprised that, well, actually more than a little surprised. I think there was about less than 7 seconds to go, and A&M had just scored, and Auburn was inbounding. Maybe it was on two. It might have been when Pop Isaacs made 2 free throws, and Auburn's inbounding, and A&M fouls right away because they had a foul to get, right? Okay. Or put them at the line. Okay, but like they fouled as soon as the ball came in. So they used like 0.2 of a second. Why don't you let them dribble a little bit and then foul?
I think that's some of the issues of having a team that has not played together, and also, to their credit, sometimes what makes you strong can hurt you, right? And when you play with that kind of chip, you play with that kind of veracity, intensity, it's hard to dial it back. And you make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean that was like what are they doing? Fouling right immediately. Yeah, and then I was surprised, and I know that we debate this, that Pop Isaacs was told to purposely miss the shot that could have given them the free throw that could have given them a 3-point lead, where the worst you do is going to overtime. Now, I know the idea is that if he makes it, then they have they have enough time maybe to set up a play, and you want them to be rushed and everything. So then, if Pop doesn't almost miss the rim, it probably works out.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just so many things that they did not execute well, that to give Auburn at least a chance. But it all worked out. They're 2-0.
They're 2-0 with a makeshift. I don't want to say makeshift roster. That's disrespectful, but you know what I mean. Like
an
expansion roster, right? With not a lot of big dudes.
No.
Going to Auburn, regardless of that's a hard place to go win. Okay, they've got 2 wins to start, and I don't know if they're going to win 11 games in SEC play, 7 games in SEC play. They're ahead of schedule as of today. Okay, they are on path to do some fun things this year that when Buzz left, we had no idea how they were going to put a roster together. When Bucky gets hired, he had nobody but Chris McDermott on his roster.
You know, I don't expect a lot. I still don't. I think I said months ago, if they get a winning record, then Bucky should be celebrated, right? Just if he's able to take what he took over and just get a winning record. And I'm not talking about an SEC play. I'm talking about overall. If you go 17-16, the guy's done an amazing job. So yeah, it's really impressive that they've been able to start 2-0 and maybe start 3-0 with Oklahoma coming up.
Right.
You know? But big teams are going to give them trouble. In fact, Auburn did. And then Auburn A&M showed in that second half what they can be when they're hitting their threes.
Yep.
I think the first half they were kind of...
Yeah, but their defense and that pace, what I loved about it is they dictated the tempo of that game. Now, Auburn likes to play fast, but they were uncomfortable playing at the speed that A&M was playing.
Agree.
And sometimes when you have a lesser roster, if you will, and that could be for size or whatever, right? You have to trick it up. And that's exactly what they've tricked it up, and that's the way they play. But they trick it up in a way to make it kamikaze for you to respond to, right? It's very difficult for opposing teams
and they're
to play.
always going to try to do that.
Yeah.
They're not always going to hit 9 of 17 3-pointers in the second half.
Right.
And when they can hit, when they were struggling in the first half, they just weren't hitting them. They're not, because they're not a big team, they have to be able to shoot the three.
Yeah. Going back to that comeback, when we do turning point in football, the turning point was that swing, right? When they're down 61-45 and they go on that 11-0 run. That was just...
And they're getting steals, boom, 3-pointer. Steal, boom, 3-pointer.
Boom.
Get the ball back, get a 3-point play. It was amazing. Like I said, I know it wasn't obviously at the end of regulation, but it was very reminiscent to me, a guy who had to completely rewrite my story of that comeback against Northern Iowa,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame.
I think that was they scored 12-0 in 32 seconds. So it was phenomenal.
On the broadcast, they compared it to Reggie Miller at Madison Square Garden in 1994. Tracy McGrady had a run against the Spurs where I think he scored 13 points in whatever it was, a very short amount of time. Doesn't matter. This team, this is how they play. This doesn't mean they're going to win these kind of games all the time. They could have lost this game very easily. But Pop Isaacs finding his rhythm.
Boy, he played great.
Didn't he? Other than the free throw, he played great.
Yeah, and guys, man, that's really my only knock on it. Because, hey, all's well that ends well. They won the game. All praise to them. But, you could have taken a lot of stress off everybody just by making free throws. They missed, the front end twice?
Yeah.
And then, just.
And, it's so interesting, OB. Last year there was issues with free throws, as we know. This year, there really isn't issues with free throws. They shot 78%, and one of them was a forced miss. But that's, how many times last year do we remember games that were like 52% from the free throw line? Like, it was just a bad free throw shooting night for them is shooting just below 80%.
Yeah. Now, they shot 61% in the second half, right? Yeah. And that's, and here's the deal. You can make free throws all day long, but games are typically won and lost, in that last minute.
Right.
Fortunately, it didn't cost them. Mm-hmm. And, I applaud, I admire the fight, the grit, the determination of that team, and how they, when they were down 16 on the road, how it'd be so easy just to, hey, it ain't our night. And to just keep coming back, that kind of intestinal fortitude will serve them well moving on. But, give us a break, and take this. Don't make it harder than it has to be.
To be out-rebounded by 8 on the road, right?
I'm not surprised at that.
And to be down by 16 on the road, right? But I think they won this game for a couple reasons. They won this game because obviously the second half three-point shooting was fantastic. Mm-hmm. But also, when you force 11 steals, when you get 11 steals in a game, and you not only dictate the tempo offensively, you dictate what they're trying to do, and forcing some bad passes and bad turnovers. How many turnovers did Auburn have overall?
Auburn turnovers, 13. One fewer than A&M had.
One fewer than A&M.
But interesting, A&M had 22 points off of turnovers to Auburn's 21. You say, a big deal. Hey, in a 90-88 game, every little edge is huge.
Yeah. Does that win now give you a glimmer of hope? Like, maybe they really are a potential tournament team, or it's so early in this season. Like, slow down. They got to beat some really. They're on pace to do something, because obviously when you're 2-0, you're on pace. But they've got 2 wins earlier than I would have expected.
I was skeptical about going on the road with a team like Auburn coming off a bad loss, and I thought you'd get an Auburn team that would play its best, and maybe it did.
Yeah.
I still have to see more. LSU lost again, so you've beaten 2 0-2 teams. So it's given me, here's what it gives me. It gives me a measure of optimism that they could possibly go 500 in the SEC, and then you got to still do a lot more to prove. 500 would be 99. That's still 7 more wins. But
you think 10 wins gets them in SEC play?
Oh yeah, 10. I would be surprised if 10 didn't get you in. But
does 9 get you in?
I think you might be.
Need some help in the tournament, in the SEC tournament.
But what it does is it makes me think, all right, these guys might end up proving everybody they're a lot better than they were expected to
How
be.
about this? They're fun to watch.
They are. They play so hard. And I think that was a big part. I think Bucky McMillan afterwards was talking about their depth. And he said this after the LSU game. Look, we have to play so hard all the time that if you can't play hard, we have to sit you down until you can't play hard, and only play you as long as you can really play at a really breakneck speed, right? And they do play that way for the most part. They make some silly mistakes, and maybe they'll figure those things out, but they're always playing hard. And because they're have some depth, I think if they can stay close in games, then you'll see them have better than average chances of pulling some late wins out.
I'm trying to think of a comparison of somebody on campus, like year 1 of Jamie Morrison in volleyball, where you're like, okay, I see what they're doing, and they did make the tournament, right? In year 1, yes, they did. So, but like something of where you're watching them play, like, look, I don't know if this is going to equate to national championships, SEC championships, or what, but I see what they're going. I like what I'm seeing.
Well, what I really like, and I think this is where you're going, and I think everybody agrees with it. I love the style of play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you wonder what this team can be when Bucky McMillan gets a roster that he's not at a disadvantage in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like, they had a disadvantage against LSU and still outscored them in the paint. And when he gets more guys that maybe are even better suited for his style than the guys he has now.
By the way, this is TexAgs Live.
It is TexAgs Live,
you.
and it's brought to you by David Gardner Jewelers.
Yeah. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Jason and Jackson and the boys.
Those are our friends. And over there is the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. We sometimes do our show from that area when we have interns because they help build this amazing stage.
Yeah, and I'm too old to be carrying all that heavy stuff around. So, but the Holistic Planning Cool Zone travels.
It's an aura. It's a vibe, right?
It's like the wind.
Yeah,
It just goes wherever.
Yeah,
but it's not gone.
It's here.
It's here.
Here with the wind.
Here with the wind.
Yeah, and if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can text us on the Catalyst text line.
How about that? The Catalyst text line.
Yeah, number one text line, right?
Yeah.
979-693-1150. Or you can call us on the
Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline.
That number's the same, by the way.
Same number.
What number is that?
979-693-1150.
I like a moment of pause. Like, just hold on. I think I got this. Let's go.
Like, why? You just said it. You're asking me again. Oh, by the way, this is also the Go Hour.
Presented by
The Warehouse at CC Creations.
Yes, it is. Let's go around the room and only say hi to one person because that's all that's working.
That's all that.
Skeleton Crew, Nick Savage behind the glass. Good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. And y'all mentioned this, but I'm going to touch on it again. If you look at the last two SEC games and just look at the shooting numbers, right? Like compared to what we've had here in the past, like 52% field goal percentage, 43% three-point percentage. How refreshing that is to see that. And, you know, guys that can make free throws, like you said. I'm not the basketball expert here. That's Luke Evangelist. OB's got a great basketball mind as well. Yeah, I know. But just, you know, as kind of a casual basketball fan, the style of play is so refreshing to watch, even if it's stressful like it was last night. If it's going to be like this and only get better, right, with the more time Bucky has to install his players, install the system, it's going to be a really fun ride with Bucky McMillan at the helm. Yeah,
I do seem to like a coach that puts more emphasis on having more baskets than more offensive rebounds. By the way, I said Bucky McMillan, I think he should be given a raise if they just have a winning season. But quite frankly, all I'm hoping, hey, Bucky, you just have a better record than Maryland, and we're good forever.
Well, hopefully multiple years of that, not just 1 year.
I mean, every year have a better record than Maryland.
Like I'll say this about that. I actually enjoyed that era of Aggie basketball, because it was successful, and I did like watching that team play in those players. Now, aesthetically, it wasn't as pleasing.
Yes, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but for me, like the grind-out defense, but this team does that too.
We always want to see A&M win, no matter who's the coach and things like that. But it is a much more fun team to watch.
I noticed that Nick there propped up Luke Evangelist and Olin Buchanan as these basketball minds, and not mentioning the fact that one of these people in this office wins in basketball games and understands the game from a physicality standpoint.
That's true, David. But
thank you. Just want to make sure.
Some of us are analysts and some of us are hosts, you know?
And some of us analyze the hosting. And that's Billy Liucci, who'll be here shortly.
What's your best shot? I mean, you know, what's that shot?
My best shot?
Yeah, that shot when you're out there.
Put back rebound. Maybe
his best shot is to try way too hard.
See, he says that like that's a negative thing.
I'm saying
if more people tried hard at life, we would be much more successful. Nick, the difference between us is I'm not good at stuff, so I have to outwork the competition.
I get it, but when you're playing a pickup basketball game with your friends, there's a certain level of try hard, you know, that you can reach. I think you surpassed that.
OB, I'll just end this segment with this. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you can pick and choose when you want to try hard, then you're not actually good at life. But you know who's very good at life? 1775.
I don't know how good.
And by the way, they get early. They're like me on the basketball court, all right? They listen to Rocky Brandon and Brad and the guys, before they get going, they start shadow boxing and they start working early in the morning, and it takes them all week to get it ready for Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Is that why the ribs and that succulent brisket and everything's so tender?
Yeah.
Because they start out, but
they beat it up.
They beat it up, tenderize it with their fists.
Yeah, with their fist.
Hopefully, I'm sure with gloves on.
The kind that like the lunch lady wears, right? Like those kind, not like boxing gloves. Yeah.
Look, all I know is I don't know how they get it so tender, but it's amazing. It's tender, it's tasty, it's amazing. And the young man going back to Baton Rouge tomorrow. But the plan is the last thing he's going to do before he heads out is we're going to head over to 1775 because that's that's the perfect send off.
It is the send off.
You say, hey, you're leaving Texas. The last thing you need to do is have some Texas barbecue. You got to have the best Texas barbecue there is. You go to 1775, and then you head back to Louisiana. But you can head back with a full stomach, a satisfied palate.
Yeah, at 1775, they welcome all people. They welcome tryhards and those who don't try very hard. 1775, txbbq.com, 979-492-6241. It is 1775.
And it's good.
Everyone, David Nuño here for Allen Honda. Had a great conversation with them earlier today. John Allen's the owner. He's been here forever. And also their GM, Rusty Skinner, great guy. Wonderful conversation. They're super local. They're a family-owned dealership, not some massive auto group. And they treat their customers like family because they basically are family. They're Aggie alums. They love Aggie sports. And they've been serving the Brazos Valley with integrity, with passion, and commitment to excellence for over 50 years, which is very rare, by the way, for the independents because people trust them. And that's why they've been doing it for such a long time. Whether you're looking to buy, lease, or service your vehicle, you can count on them for transparent, no pressure experience that puts your needs first. And I can attest to it. Had a great conversation about my own situation with them. Their knowledgeable sales team will help you find the perfect Honda to fit your lifestyle, from fuel-efficient sedans to versatile SUVs. Leasing options are flexible and affordable, making it easy to drive the latest models with confidence. And when it comes to service, their certified technicians only use genuine Honda parts to keep your vehicle running at its best, whether it's routine maintenance for major repairs or whatever it may be. And we know that trust isn't given, it is earned, and that's why generations of local drivers right here in the Brazos Valley and Bryan College Station keep coming back to Allen Honda. As part of the community with Aggie spirit in their hearts, they are here to make everyone's visit wonderful. So visit their showroom or their service lane and find friendly, efficient, and memorable situations when you go to Allen Honda. Come see why so many College Station and Bryan drivers choose Allen Honda for their automotive needs, and remember, gig 'em. The song could be the national anthem. It's fantastic. All right, this is part 2. They made a remix to that, OB.
Yeah, I think you pretty much need to have words. I think just keep repeating "Gonna Fly Now" is not enough for a national anthem.
Bill Conte, right? That's what it is?
Okay,
I think
you
it's
say
Bill Conte.
so.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Breaking news from Ryan Brauninger as of a couple of minutes ago. Texas A&M adds former LSU offensive lineman Tyree Adams via the transfer portal.
I think he was considered LSU's best offensive lineman last year.
Yeah.
Before he got hurt. Now, look, I know the LSU offensive line wasn't good, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily, and I can't say I'm an expert on their offensive line, but he was considered their best one.
Appeared in 19 games over the course of 3 seasons, 11 starts at tackle, 9 of which came this past fall. Took a red shirt at 23, so he has 2 years of eligibility. He's got great wingspan, athletic frame. Adams will provide, this is from Ryan Brauninger's post, Adams will provide experienced presence against the SEC pass rush. Overall, he's the 10th addition for Coach Elko and company.
Elko, I mean, he is so active in the transfer portal, and again, we talked about it yesterday. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt on everybody that he brings in. Some guys say, yeah, but did they do it at did it at Tulsa doesn't mean you can do it in the SEC, right?
That offensive line has been rebuilt. Now, again, I think offensive lines take time to gel. Okay, but I'm just going to read you some of these names, OB.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trevon Ball earlier. Right?
Yeah,
like that was a big one.
South
Cohen
Carolina.
Eccles, another one, right? So that's what 3 offensive linemen here in the last 3 days. Rebuilding an offensive line that had to be rebuilt.
Right, and it doesn't necessarily mean those guys are going to start, because what if Mont Rogers,
right, takes a big step,
or Bordon, come out and show that they're action funk. What if one of those guys that's been around just comes out and plays great? But not only are you maybe bringing in some starters, but you're building depth as well.
Well, made the A&M offensive line to me so intriguing this past year, and I know it fizzled a little bit at the end against a very good pass rush in Miami, but they were playing 7, 8 guys, and young guys got some opportunities. And regardless, if young guys take the next step and become starters, or if these guys, it looks like you're going to have a lot more talent. Not more talent than you had last year. Maybe you will. I don't know. But a lot more talent had that not been the case of getting this caliber of player here in the last few days.
Yeah. I think you're going to have some trouble being as good on the left side of the line as you were last year. You're probably not going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's unlikely that you're going to be as good without Trey Zune and Chase Basantes. But can you lessen ease the fall off?
Well, you knew it was going to be a transition.
Yeah.
You knew. So
I think from center to right tackle, they're fine. I think they're going to be as good, if not better, center to right tackle.
Right. And I'm trying to think. There was the offensive lineman from Alabama that was expected to visit. And
isn't there one from North Carolina State?
Correct.
Who's supposed to be an all ACC type player? Peak? Jacarius Peak?
Jacarius Peak.
So I was kind of hoping that they could get him too.
He was Jacarius Peak was here on the 5th, as was Wilkin Formby.
So
on the 5th. So look, it's trending in a very positive direction on that offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, bring in guys that can compete and let the best man win and get the best 5 out there.
So we will have Billy Liucci in studio at some point today. I believe around 9:35. He is back.
Okay.
Yeah, the Chicago Knights caught up with him, so he'll be here at some point. We'll have Bronny with us as well, so it'll be a fun hour here on the program. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and if you want to text the show on the Catalyst text line, you can certainly do that. Right now, we're talking Paragon Financial Advisors. When it comes to peace of mind, it starts with the right team, and that right team is Paragon Financial Advisors. They're an independent fiduciary serving clients all across Texas. They have no sales pitches. They've got no commissions, just honest financial planning and investment management. And what really sets them apart is the over 9 CFPs, the CFA and the CPA, all on staff, and they take their credentials seriously, and they work tirelessly to help you build a future that you can feel good about. Go to paragon-adv.com or give them a call, 979-693-3907 to schedule your free consultation today. It is Paragon Financial Advisors, integrity, expertise, and trust. Paragon Financial Advisors. Hey friends, David Nuño here for Prize Picks. They're back on TexAgs, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. And Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Football season's here, basketball coming up, baseball, you name it. You go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and start having some fun watching sports, making some money on there. And you can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Remember, they'll give you $50 in lineups once you play $5 lineups on Prize Picks. And they have the new thing. It's called It's Good to Be Right campaign, and they're kicking off the upcoming NFL season with their bold new campaign, It's Good to Be Right. The seasonal long push celebrates the thrills of getting it right, from the perfect prediction to winning your Prize Picks lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And we are back here on TexAgs Live, the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. And we're having a good old time this morning. Obi, have you been paying attention to how the SEC is doing in bowl games?
Yeah, they're not doing well. In fact, have they even won one?
Texas won against Michigan.
That's right.
And then the rest of them, if I remember correctly, of the wins have been SEC on SEC violence.
Right, in the playoff.
Right. So not a good look. 1-5 in bowl games is what I read. I don't know if that's completely correct. I'm going to look through I have all the
I know
games.
Vandy lost.
So A&M obviously.
Missouri lost.
So Bama beats Oklahoma.
LSU lost. Yeah.
Okay. SEC on SEC. Miami beats A&M. Ole Miss beats Tulane. Missouri loses to Virginia. LSU loses to Houston. Tennessee loses to Illinois. As you mentioned, Vandy to Iowa. Texas beat Michigan 41-27. Alabama got destroyed by Indiana. Georgia loses to Ole Miss, another SEC on SEC. Mississippi State loses to Wake Forest. And there you go. Those are the games.
Yeah. So, maybe the SEC finally is going to accept the dose of humility that they needed. And I always felt all year long that A&M was the best team in the SEC. They didn't play like it at the end of the year. Maybe we'll find out, I guess, tomorrow night. Maybe you could make the argument that they proved they were the best team by playing Miami so close. And you know what? When you mention all these things about how the SEC has been struggling, it's another gut punch to think this was a year that you could have been the SEC champion. You had a legitimate chance at it, and you could still be playing, and you let it get away.
So now, looking at it, how much of a step back has the SEC taken, or has NIL allowed all these other conferences to catch up? Because it's going to be what it could potentially. I'm saying potentially. I don't think Ole Miss is going to win it all, but they could still. Right? They're one of the 4 teams. They have a chance. But it might be 3 straight years of the Big Ten winning it all, if not the ACC.
Yeah, it could be. I think you have to look at it and say the NIL and transfer portal is definitely a huge part of that, because good players have left the SEC. Does Ohio State win it last year without Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins?
Right.
Maybe not. But that's how the game's played now. So you've got to be active in the portal like A&M is, and have some luck too. And I think quarterback plays a big part of it. Who was a great quarterback in the SEC this year? You say Pavia.
Yeah, he got invited to New York.
He had some great moments. I don't think he was as consistent.
A lot of people had really good moments, extended good moments. Ty Simpson had a stretch where he had really good moments.
For a stretch, about 3 or 4 games.
Marcel had a stretch.
He did.
Right?
Trinidad Chambliss.
Arch, towards the end, had a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody was... Again, and you might be able to say for the entire college football, like what I know that Mendoza is going to get most of the love.
And receivers, too.
Yeah.
They had the good receivers at Indiana. They had the great receivers at Ohio State. The guy at Miami.
Malachi Tony.
Yeah. So, I think that's also a big part of it. And quite frankly, the teams
A&M had some receivers, yeah.
Teams are playing great defense that are still around, with the exception of Ole Miss, and they're playing pretty good.
If you remember early in the season, the first couple weeks of the year, the SEC was dominating those non-conference games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the end, they're getting dominated. So how much of it is the SEC on SEC matchups? Just it's like in your favorite sport, soccer, in the English Premier League, it's such a deep league that those teams seem to beat up each other, and by the time you get to the real tournament, they're kind of exhausted and they've been beat down. How much of that is a possibility in what we've seen?
I guess it's a possibility, but hey, that got you 5. All that got you 5 teams in the tournament, and you didn't capitalize on it. Now, I will say this. There was a time when you would look at bowl games as affirmation to how good you are or how bad somebody else is. And I know this sounds very self-serving now, but I've been saying it for a long time. Bowl games don't tell you anything anymore.
Yeah.
You don't know who's playing. It's not a representative of the team you had. So I know SEC detractors, and I would too if I was an SEC detractor, would point at that and say, see, you guys suck. Because for more than a decade, SEC people looked down on everybody else and told everybody else how bad they are. So if I was a detractor, now you dished it out, you got to take it, right? And if you don't like it, well, find a way to get better and go out and start beating everybody in the playoffs, because that's what matters. And if Ole Miss wins, then everybody has to kind of back off on that nationally, But I don't expect that to happen. And so,
how much of it, though, in the SEC, OB, is the fact that in the SEC, all conferences for sure like elite teams, but if you don't make the college football playoffs, it's over the season, and that's been for a while. Like, remember that one year? I think Georgia got left out of and then they lost in who did they lose to? Texas with Tom Herman's year, right? Like if you don't make it to the Final Four in that era, or now the 12, it's like the season's over.
That's what I'm saying about bowl games, for instance. You don't care. Florida State, when they didn't get in, they didn't obviously didn't care.
Yeah.
And half the team didn't play, and they got blasted. But back in the, you've heard coaches would say, especially back in the day, even before players opted out, they'd say, if you want to know who's going to win the bowl game, you look at who really wants to be there.
Well, also Iowa over Vanderbilt, right? For Iowa, that's Vanderbilt thought they had a chance to make the postseason.
Eli Stowers didn't play.
Right. And Iowa, for them, that was a marquee win. You beat an SEC team.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it right there.
Illinois, it meant much more for Illinois than it meant for Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
Right? Even though they're a Big Ten team, for Houston, who do you think that meant more for?
Oh,
Houston or LSU?
Without a doubt.
Virginia or Missouri?
Virginia, without that. If you can say you beat an SEC team, again, after all the crowing and everything, SEC, everybody wants to give it back to it. It's kind of like, remember, there was this baseball coach here that wanted me fired because I said beating A&M would mean more to Sam Houston.
I remember that.
Than beating Sam
Did he want you fired though?
Yeah, he said that guy should lose his job.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Punk. That's why I'll never apologize to anything I say about Mr. Swing for the fences. But because to say that beating a team with a higher profile means more to the team with the lower profile, of course it does. And I think that teams in a bowl game have more motivation when they play an SEC team because it gives you some validation.
Yeah. Does it turn around?
It'll turn around. I think it'll probably turn around pretty fast, actually, because SEC teams will invest in their teams.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing we're seeing now is like now that everybody can invest in their teams, right?
I just don't think you're going to see any team or conference just dominating for a decade plus ever again because you can't keep the depth like you used to could.
Right.
Like Alabama did, like Georgia was doing. I think you'll see more teams like, not to the same degree, but I think you'll see more teams like LSU in 2019 that was pretty good, and all of a sudden they were great, and then they came back to normal.
Is Indiana that team this year?
I thought they were that team last year.
Right.
So it's my understanding that they are a very veteran team, and they're going to lose heavily. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went back
to reality. But
I don't think they're going to go back to the reality that used to be Indiana.
Well, they're now at a new weight class, right?
Right.
So their low bar, their talent level, no doubt, it's going to take time to cultivate that new talent, but is higher than it was when Cignetti got there.
Right. I'm not going to expect them to go back to 3 and 4 wins. I'm going to expect them maybe next year. I have to see and try to analyze. And I'm not great with that analysis, but I'm going to say they're probably in. And then you got to look at the Big Ten and understand it's top heavy, but think, look at their schedule, and I don't even know their schedule. They're probably an 8-win team next year.
You want me to
which, by the way, used to at 8 wins at Indiana, it used to be that'd be a parade.
You want me to read a text that's not kind, or no?
Let's hear it.
Okay. Wixenag, who tweets a lot, boy, we can spin.
Okay, what are we saying?
Trash segment. If we as a conference were that elite, it wouldn't matter. I heard Olin say our number 2s are better than their backups. All these teams had opt-outs.
When did I say they're not?
Maybe in the past you said it? I don't know.
Well, maybe in the past that was probably true.
Yeah. I don't know if it's spin or just talking. It's a conversation. Like, SEC teams are not as deep as they were before. Oh, well, let me rephrase that. Elite teams are not as deep as they were before. And that's just the facts right now because of the way NIL has spread it out. Now, some teams are doing it better than others. Mm-hmm. When Lane Kiffin was at Ole Miss, he was doing it better than others. And now we're going to see what they do moving forward.
And one thing I think when you watch Indiana, for instance, I think you see a team that is very fundamentally sound, that plays within itself, understands what they're good at, and sticks to it.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of SEC teams still do things based on, hey, my athletes are just better than yours, and maybe they're not as superior as they used to be.
And Wixenag, sometimes you can take it as spin. I think we're having a conversation and trying to make sense of where we are right now.
I'm still trying to figure out when I said that the SEC second teamers are better than everybody's first team.
Maybe at some point you said it. I don't know.
Way back when, maybe?
I don't know. He's keeping receipts apparently. But just because you're having a conversation trying to make sense of something doesn't mean we have the answer. This is not a hot sports take opinion like right now. We're having a conversation about trying to figure out what's happening. And it could be, and I think this maybe he's sitting on the point of it doesn't matter as much for the SEC. I think that is a fact. Most SEC teams, when you get 5 into the playoffs and you had how many that had a chance until the very end? 9?
Yeah.
Okay? Like anything minus the playoffs is a letdown. It does not mean that yes, all teams had opt-outs. Yeah. And for those teams, they figured out this year was not a good year for the SEC. I think we said that from the start. It was a good year to get teams into the playoffs, but there was nobody elite in the SEC at any point. And you said a moment ago that you thought A&M was the best team for the most part of the SEC.
Yeah, I do. And I still believe that. And that's why, again, it's such a gut punch the way it ended. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
I did say that I don't think the bowl that teams are as motivated in bowl games.
I think that's all across the board.
Yeah, I don't think that's limited to the SEC, but I do think that when you play an SEC team in a bowl game, that you have more motivation. Say Iowa had more motivation playing Vanderbilt than I think Iowa might have had they been playing Wake Forest.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
And at the end of the day, the results count, and Vanderbilt lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Props to
Iowa and the Big Ten for
when A&M played USC last year. I think probably mattered the same for both teams.
But both teams had a lot of players out, and it really wasn't representative of the team that you had all year.
I agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about Heritage Films. When it comes to preserving your farm or your ranch's legacy, it's not about capturing pretty pictures of the land. It's about capturing the essence, the stories that made that land so possible for your family. And that's what Chance McClain likes to do, is tell the stories of the land that you have, right? Yeah, he does these Heritage Films, which are documentaries that tell people's stories, right? And they tell family business stories and family ranch stories. So if you have a piece of land that just matters so much to your family, let's transfer those values that you built your operation on to the future generations that are going to inherit it. And you do that by capturing the moments, by telling the story. And Chance will do that with his team, and they'll do this documentary, a 2-hour documentary that you're going to love. Farm and Ranch Films captures the wisdom your grandkids are going to need. Visit yourheritagefilm.com or click on the Farm and Ranch section of the website, and you can call them up as well. 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341, to preserve not just your story, but your family's foundation. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza. And, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. All right, OB, let's close out the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations with some thoughts. So, very happy about the Aggie victory, but you just wish it wasn't so stressful.
Yes, I think we all do. It was, you can't applaud them enough for not giving up when they were down 16 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And showing us what kind of basketball team they can be when they're hitting their threes and they got that full court pressure going and forcing turnovers. And I think what we saw is what buckyball's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, we saw there for that period the peak of what buckyball is supposed to be.
Wix and Ag does respond to. Okay. I agree with bowl game motivation.
Okay, so I'm still I'm kind of fuzzy on what the.
No, that's spin. Roger and Rosehill. Seems like the SEC did well during the regular season. Yes, they did.
They did, and they won a lot of interconference games, and so I think that's more reflective of how good the teams are and the conferences are than bowl games. I just believe that.
I agree. OB, thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, John Harris. After that, we should have Coach Pat Henry. After that, we should have Billy Liucci. After that, we should have Ryan Brauninger. And after that, Tom Schuberth. It's TexAgs Live. We are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We're joined by our dear friend John Harris. He's the Houston Texans sideline reporter. He is the founder of footballtakeover.com. He knows all. What's up, Johnny? How you doing, buddy?
I'm well, David. How you doing?
I'm good, man. So we just had a segment. Just want you to weigh in on the SEC's difficulties this postseason, bowl games, and in the playoffs, although some of those losses have been to SEC teams. What do you think is happening with the SEC? And now that the Big Ten has won 2 straight, potentially 3 straight, if the ACC has something to say about it, the SEC obviously still with a chance.
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. I think one of them that first comes to mind is that everyone has money. It's just a matter of how you want to spend it. And I think now that NIL is out in the open and Cody Campbell can spend his money for Texas Tech and Phil Knight can continue to use his money and Dan Lanning knows how to spend it. I think out in Oregon, Big Ten teams have got, people that want to spend money at Ohio State. And I know Ohio State lost to Miami. Miami's got a lot of money. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that money is everything, but money is a lot of it. And you're seeing it now in college football more than ever. I mean, the Damone Williams situation, with Washington, where he signed a deal just 4 days ago to stay at Washington. And now all of a sudden it's like, whoa. I'm seeing where I can get $7 million on the transfer market. Now I'm transferring. And the rules are so not enforceable to a degree, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of the nebulousness to go with it. So it's kind of evening things out. I mean, obviously people look at Indiana and go, wait a second, something's going on there. Well, it did. Obviously, Cignetti brought a lot of players from JMU, but you look up and it's like, well, this guy transferred from this place. Obviously, Mendoza transferred from Cal. The quarterback the year before, Curtis Rourke, had spent 4 years as one of the best players in the MAC. And then he goes to Indiana, he gets them to a 1-loss season, gets them to the playoff. I just think there's a lot of money going around. I think everybody is still trying to kind of feel out what this new world is supposed to be, how it's supposed to be. And I think that the other thing I would say is I feel like the SEC quarterbacks probably didn't play up to expectation. I don't think Diego Pavia played very well against Iowa. Marcel obviously did not have a great game against Miami. And quarterbacks drive this thing. Look at Trinidad at Ole Miss. He's probably the exception to the rule in the SEC. Trinidad had a hell of a game against Ole Miss. I don't think Gunnar Stockton played exceptionally well. He played tough, but I don't think he played well against Georgia. And in years in which the SEC was kind of ruling the roost, it was Cam Newton, it was Johnny. It was one year where they had Aaron Murray, Mettenberger, Johnny, and a few others, and they were like 4 of the top 8 quarterbacks in the country. So I do feel like there are a couple of reasons, but if you have money and you got a quarterback, I feel like you got a chance to do some really good things. And then we're seeing coaching matters as well. And I think the SEC has had great coaches, but you lose a Nick Saban, that doesn't help to kind of give you the overall conference coaching situation. And look, there were years in which Alabama would hold up the strength of the SEC in some sense. But you always had Alabama. Well, you don't anymore. So from that standpoint, I think other conferences have caught up a little bit because they're playing the NIL game and they're playing it really well. They've got some good coaches that have helped, and they've gotten some decent quarterbacks. But when you think about quarterbacks, think about Texas Tech. They paid for everything under the sun, but they went with the quarterback they already had. And Barron Morton was terrible in the Orange Bowl. And Oregon went and won that game. So I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. I don't know that there's any one thing where I go, oh, that's it. Even though college football fans like to do that, oh, that's it. That's the reason. Yeah, I don't know that you can do that with this one. I think there's a number of different factors that play into that one for especially this postseason, David.
Johnny, when you think about quarterback play in the SEC overall, was anybody great? I mean, Diego had probably the best. That's why he was a Heisman finalist, right? But was anybody truly great? And then I guess outside of Fernando Mendoza, what quarterback was great in college football this year?
None. I mean, you know the work that I do for the NFL draft, David, and I honestly, I was telling people, I was telling scouts in our building when I would talk to them, and we would kind of all collectively say, thank God we got C.J. Stroud, because if we had to go out and get a quarterback in this draft, I mean, you're peeing in the wind. No offense, but you are. Even Mendoza, I know Mendoza gets a ton of love, but and look, I think Fernando will end up being a solid quarterback. He's got the attributes. I think he's got the attributes to be a really good leader. I think physical attributes, he throws the ball well, but I don't sit there and go, whoa. I've seen that before. I've seen Jared Goff before, and that's kind of who he is. And Jared Goff has had a really fine career. You can have a good, solid career being a top 10, top 12 quarterback in the NFL. But if you're a team looking for gotta have it now, we got a roster that's close. This young quarterback can help push us over the top. You're not going to find it. And I think that's what you saw in the SEC. I mean, I think Diego was really good at the close. I think he was beyond good. He was excellent at the close of the season, the last 3 or 4 games. But even he had issues at Texas. He had issues in the second half against Alabama. No quarterback in the SEC really, other than Trinidad Chambliss, you could look at it and go, man, that dude was really good in the clutch. Gunnar Stockton did some good things for a few games down the stretch, but against Georgia Tech, they put up 10 or 13 points, whatever it was. So, yeah, I don't know that the SEC quarterbacks were tremendous. Look, Marcel had his moments, and then the last, 4 or 5 games of the year, it kind of disintegrated. So, yeah, I mean, I think the SEC this year is, to me, symbolic of what it is across the country. And if you think about it, it makes some sense. Dante Moore, transfers from UCLA to Oregon, Mendoza from Cal to Indiana. Even the great quarterbacks are transferring. They've only spent 1 year in a place. Think back to you doing your job for the very first year. There were going to be some ups and downs. There were going to be some all over the place sort of things. But I think a lot of people didn't see Drew Aller completely melting down the way that he did. I did. I was not a big fan of Aller. Guys that had some experience. Everybody thought Arch Manning was going to set the world on fire. Arch did at the end of the year play really, really well. And in a bowl game, which you do take with a grain of salt, Arch had his best game of the year. So it portends to good things. You would think in the second and third year that you're in a program, that you're in a system, that you're with a head coach. I don't know if the SEC had completely that this year, but yeah, the quarterback play in SEC left a lot to be desired, I thought, in 2025.
Johnny, where are you on Marcel entering his third year starting for A&M next year? He finished last year. Obviously, he started this entire year. Where are you on Marcel considering the highs and some of the lows?
I think the end of the year is good for him, obviously going through some adversity as a starter. But I think, yeah, I mean, I will support Marcel because I've seen what Marcel can be. You guys have seen what Marcel can be. Here's, I don't know the right way of saying this, but when a quarterback does run the football, whether it's college, NFL, those guys take a beating. And I feel like at quarterbacks that do take off and they do take hits, it's cumulative. And by the end of the season, their body is feeling it. And when their body is feeling it, their mechanics are off. They're not stepping into their throws. They're not being mindful, matching their eyes and their feet. And they end up making throws they probably shouldn't. And throwing the football is, not great. Now, Marcel had been kind of banged up. We know that, at different points throughout the year. I don't know if that had something to do with it. I don't know if, the moment was too big. But, yeah, it's one of those situations where, yeah, I'm behind Marcel. I need for it to take another step where I can really gather the confidence, because it's going to be that, yeah, I'm with Marcel, but. And I think he knows that, the competitor he is, he's a coach's kid. He knows he's got to go out there and perform at a better rate for everybody. But the way it finished the last couple games, obviously it's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth because those are the two biggest games. I think Marcel's got it. I think he's got it in him. But I do think that there's got to be a way to take less pressure off his body. And the problem with that is one of his best assets is his ability to run, but he takes a lot of hits. And I feel like that happens for a lot of quarterbacks that do run the football. By the end of the season, boy, you really can start to see it. Those hits become cumulative. I've seen it in the NFL with quarterbacks, maybe not in a year, but as the years go on, like Cam Newton. By the time Cam Newton had been in the league 7-8 years, he couldn't throw the ball right, David, because he took hit after hit after hit after hit. Now, Cam will tell you, oh, I can still play. I watched Cam try and throw a football in 2020, and it looked like he was trying to shot put the thing. So those hits are cumulative. So I think that's part of it. But now he's got to get over the mental aspect, that mental hurdle of, hey, I didn't play well. Now I got some pressure on me. How do I perform? That's what he's going to have to deal with this offseason and make sure that he goes into 2026 somehow with a clear mind, clear body, and then go win some football games.
Johnny, why does it take a while for an offensive line, a new offensive line, to gel? The reason I'm bringing this up is I'm looking at what A&M's going to have next year, and they've added some really good guys in the portal. All seem to be very decorated, but I know it takes a time. Does it take a full season, half a season? I guess it's going to be dependent on your group. Texas, when they started the season, that offensive line was not a finished product. They got much better as the season went on. Why does it take time? Is it the communication aspect of it?
Well, I think there are a lot of things, but I think for any offensive line, I think it's just the ability to communicate without having to say anything, knowing, hey, we get this look, we know exactly how to do it. We don't have to sit there and go, hey, purple, 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 or lemon, lemon, Rita. You don't have to even say that. Everybody already kind of knows. So I do think it takes time, but obviously it also takes talent too. I feel like it's tough to look at the A&M line and go, well, Miami, did have their way with them. Miami's defensive lines had their way with everybody. And it's one of the best defensive lines in the country, if not the best defensive line in the country. So, that's going to happen whether you can communicate properly or not. You're going to get your butt kicked by Bain and Mesidor. It's going to happen. Everybody's going to get their butt kicked by a really good, defensive line at some point, whether the communication is great or not. But there's, you talk to offensive linemen over the years and they'll talk about communication, but they'll also just talk about synergy and fit. And I always go back to this story I heard a long time ago. Art Shell and Gene Upshaw played left guard and left tackle for the Raiders for a long time. And they played so long together that whenever they were off the field, they always sat in the same position that they would if they were on the field. Gene Upshaw was the guard, so he would sit on the right side, and then Art Shell was the left tackle. He would sit on the left. He said everything they would do, they'd get on a flight, they'd sit that way. They'd go to a restaurant, they would sit that way. They just had become so accustomed to being next to one another that it was just kind of rote memory to do that when they were not on the field. And that's kind of the way you need to get with an offensive line, especially in this world of NIL where guys are moving. This piece is out, this piece is in. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it can happen, and it can happen quicker depending on coaching, the players themselves. How do they accept the coaching? How willing are they to put in a little extra time so that things go smoothly on Saturdays? All of that's going to play a role, David.
John, let's transition to the NFL. How was it watching the end of that Baltimore game for you?
Well, it was stressful because we're sitting here. Well, we got to go to one of those places. And I'll take this team anywhere, anytime. I'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime, because that's the way I think this team thinks. And that's what they want. And I don't think it mattered to them. But not having to go to Baltimore to face Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry again. We'd faced Henry this year and shut him down, but there was no Lamar Jackson. And we've never beaten Lamar Jackson ever. And we've not beaten Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. So that was one like, oh, man, okay. When he makes that throw to Likely, in my mind, I'm mentally like, all right, let's go to Baltimore. Let's go do this. It's going to be tough. Let's do it. And then he missed the field goal, and now we got Pittsburgh. Now, the immediate reaction is, okay, it's Pittsburgh. Yay. Not really. That wasn't really my reaction. Like, yay, it's Pittsburgh. I mean, we have beaten Aaron Rodgers since 2008 when you and I were working together. Cam Hayward and TJ Watt are two of the best linemen you're going to find. They got a great pass rush. They're very physical up front. Their offense is, they're going to try and pound it a little bit. And the game is in Pittsburgh, where they've not won a playoff game, period, but they haven't won a playoff game in Pittsburgh in a while. So they're going to be jacked up. It's a night game. They don't lose on Monday night. So there are a lot of factors in this one. But I'll say this, as a child of the 70s, I'm just glad to go to Pittsburgh for a playoff game. That, to me, beating the Steelers, back in 2016, we beat the Raiders. That was cool in a playoff game. It was at home, but it was neat to see the Raiders in a playoff game. Now we're actually in the belly of the beast. We're at Pittsburgh. Weather should be okay. It's going to be cold, but it should be okay. And we got to go beat them to move on. And that, to me, is that's cool as hell. So, and it's funny because we've gone to Pittsburgh a couple other times. We played in the COVID season, then we had a preseason game against them. I haven't been back down on the sideline since the first game at Pittsburgh in 2014, and that was a Monday night game. And Antonio Brown ripped us a new one. We had a bad end of the first half. So hopefully we'll not make those mistakes. We'll play smart, and we can go up there and get a win and move on.
Johnny, I remember early on in the season when the Texans were having their issues, and there was a glimmer of hope, and you're like, I could see how this team could string together, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 wins in a row. And that seems so far-fetched. They won 9 in a row, right? And they're hoping to win their 10th in a row. What has been different?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a very talented team. The roster is very, very good. The offense was struggling. And I think the offense had to find – we knew Nico Collins was going to be a go-to guy. We knew that. And we knew we had Dalton Schultz, but we didn't, I think, realize that Dalton was going to have the year that he did. But we had to figure other stuff out. We had to figure out that Jaden Higgins is that good. We had to figure out that Woody Marks could carry the load. We had to figure out the offensive line. Some of those things started coming together, and then we stopped turning the ball over. We threw an interception. Davis Mills threw an interception at the Jacksonville game. I think it was week 10. I think it was week 10, maybe week 9. Either way, he throws a pick in that Jacksonville game, and then we didn't turn the ball over for 3 or 4 weeks. And we ended up, that was the start of it. And then we started turning teams over. And those extra possessions mattered. And then special teams took their game up to a different level. And then it started clicking. And then all of a sudden you get this belief of, well, they're not better than us. This is where we should have been all along. This is the type of team we should have been. The flip side of that, too, is when we were 0-3, we lost to the Rams by 5, but we're driving inside the red zone when we fumbled. The Bucs, if we made a tackle on 4th and 10, the game is over right there. We give up just 14 points to them. In Jacksonville, we fumbled 2 fumbles and a pick inside the 20-yard line. In the fourth quarter, we lost by 7. If you flip that Jacksonville game, now obviously things could play out differently, but you flip that Jacksonville game, now we're playing at home. Jacksonville's on the road. We've won 13. And maybe we even get to the 2 seed, and both games would be at home, even the one for the divisional round. But it didn't work out that way, and we're probably happy it didn't because it got their attention. It's like, look, you got a talented team. You got a great coaching staff. You've got a really stud quarterback when he's on. But you can't roll out the balls, not pay attention to the details, get away from your mechanics and the techniques that you've learned, and go win a football game. And so I think it all refocused them, and it sort of centered them too. Hey, nobody believes in us. They kind of like that. Hey, nobody believes in us. We like being the underdog. And they like that. This defense in particular. They like, hey, they don't think you're the best defense in the league. And it's like, all right, we'll show them. So I think it's, all the cliche things, but a lot of them I saw in reality happen for this particular team. And hopefully it continues. And we can make a nice little 4-game run here through January, February.
Johnny, I feel weird saying this, but why does it feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not watching the right shows, reading the right articles, but I feel like nobody's talking about the Patriots. I mean, they talk about them, but like the turnaround this year, what has been different with the Patriots?
Well, number 1, Mike Vrabel. Number 2, Mike Vrabel brought in Josh McDaniels. And number 3, Vrabel brought in McDaniels to help Drake May. And that has been a relationship that has been really, really good for that organization. Now, the one thing Patriots fans don't like to hear, but it's the truth. They haven't beaten anybody. They haven't played anybody. Now, hey, we beat the Bills in Buffalo. You weren't the only team to have beaten the Bills and beaten the Bills up this year. And that was a great win. That was kind of the win that signaled, hey, maybe the Patriots are for real. But it's the only win they had against an 11-win team this year. So I think there's this level of, great record, but you haven't beaten anybody. So you guys beat the Chargers. Watch, they beat the Chargers. They beat the Chargers up pretty good. I think there will be a lot of, hey, we were wrong. It's not Jacksonville. It's not Buffalo. It's not even Houston. It's them. It's the Patriots. Now you got to go through Foxborough and all that kind of nonsense. So that will all start if the Patriots go win this game against the Chargers, which is going to be tough. Herbert got a little bit of a rest. The Chargers basically said, we ain't scared. If we got to go to New England, we're fine. They rested all their starters last week. So against Denver. So they're going to be rested. That was kind of their bye week as they get ready. But I think that's pretty much it, David. There are some that are like, hey, and I've said this before. You can only play the schedule that's put in front of you. That's not up to the team. That's up to the NFL. It's up to, whatever the powers that be in the conference set up the schedule. You got to play that schedule. And they've done well with that schedule. But now the reality hits. Drake May's never played a playoff game. They get a tough defense against the Chargers. We'll see how he responds. I actually think Drake May's going to respond pretty well. And I think the Patriots will win this game. But I feel like I would love to see the Patriots in the second round if we can get past the first round. I don't mind going up to Foxborough. We went up there last year. I know it's a different team, but we went up there last year, beat Drake May, kicked him off 3 times. I think it would be tough for him to face his defense again. But we'll get past this one, and then we'll talk about that next week.
Johnny, great stuff, my brother. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, man. Love you. Talk to you soon.
Love you, man. It's my guy, John Harris, on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break, and we'll see. To family-owned agencies dialed into TexAgs, Rollo Insurance is doing some amazing work helping small agencies keep up during the slow-motion corporate takeover for the insurance industry. Tech markets, education, successive planning are all big challenges. What you need to do is go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and listen to Keith and Jackson's testimony right here in the studio not long ago. And they're amazing there at Rollo Insurance. They're helping Aggies do all kinds of work to help out other Aggies. They also offer comprehensive consultation of businesses of all sizes with particular expertise in family-owned operations. And their agents provide a guidance on liability, property, workers' comp, and specialized coverage. What you need to do is find your dedicated business insurance partner at rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 2. Billy should be joining us here in a little bit. We got a couple things I want to get into before we hit a break. First off, I want to figurine champ. I love this point he brought up. Bucky saying being down, Bucky McMillan, obviously the Aggie basketball team had a wonderful victory yesterday. A little controversial ending, worked out in a great way for A&M. But Bucky said, down 16 is not a lot for this team. And Figurine Champ kind of talks about a little bit of the opposite of that's what the prior regime. I'm not here to bag on the prior regime. I had a lot of fun covering that team, and those were some of my favorite players and moments. But Nick, do you remember what year was that? Was it year 1 or 2 of the NCAA tournament run for Buzz and company? Was it right after the Nebraska game? Who did they play after that? Was it Penn State? I can't remember who they played. I think might have been Penn State, right? But it was Penn State.
Yeah.
And they were down, I believe, 11 at half. Might have been 12 if you want to fact check me, but in that range. And if you remember what they did the rest of the way was they took so many three-point shots. And the reason for it was that they felt like that was the only way to get back into the game. I thought it was why they lost the game. I didn't like that decision at the time, and I talked about it at the time. I still don't like it. Like a team that wasn't a very good three-point shooting team constantly shooting threes, to me, is not a sustainable formula to win games.
Yeah, in that game, they were 10 for 34, so 29% from 3.
Okay, but I feel like some of those they hit early, and then they tried to continue it in the second half, and that's where the game spiraled out of control. If you remember also in that game, they went to the paint quite a bit early on, and they were getting points in the paint, and that's why they controlled it. I think they were up 7-8 in the first couple of minutes, 10 minutes of the game, and it was because they were going directly to the paint. The reason I'm bringing it up, not to talk about revisionist history, but I remember thinking to myself, 12 points is not a big deficit. You go on a 6-0 run, 3 possessions where you get a couple rebounds and a steal. You're down now by 2 or 3 possessions. 16 seems daunting, for sure. But let's kind of use what the Aggies did in that little 28-second stretch. To me, what made it fascinating wasn't the 11-0 run. I think 11-0 runs happen. It's the fact they did it in 28 seconds is what's fascinating about it, right? You blink of an eye. 28 seconds is a 25-second possession in the beginning of another possession, and they got 11 points. Okay, so that was the fascinating part of it. But not that they scored 11 straight points. 11 straight points happens in basketball. So again, down 16. Let's say they got 11 straight points over a 3-minute stretch. All right, and now you're looking at down. That's very doable. So what I love about this coaching staff, its strategy, and the way they go about their business is there is no lead that we can't come back from. Right now, some days it's not falling. This team is built to hit 3-point shots. Dominguez is a 3-point shooter. A lot of these guys can hit the 3. Jakari Lane can hit a 3, right? There's several dudes that can hit 3s. Pop Isaacs can hit 3s. So they're going to continue to shoot. That's their brand of basketball. What I don't like is abandoning your brand of basketball because you feel like that's the only thing that's going to work. And I think at halftime or midway through the second half, that is not, 12 to 16 point lead sure looks glim, right? But how much was Auburn down yesterday in the last minute? They were down 8, 10 points in the last minute, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they had an opportunity to not only win the game, but force it in overtime, right? So my point is, I love, and I'm glad that Figurine Champ brought that up. I love that we are watching a team that I'm going to work every play. And I know Buzz's teams did. This is not a shot at Buzz and his teams. They did. Again, I love the way that brand of I did love it. Others did not like the offensive output, and sometimes I hated shooting so many 3-point shots. But I love the way that team played with energy. This team does it in a different way. It's more about the offense and the tempo that really helps their defense, and which is why they force high amounts of turnovers and can get some steals. So props to them. Nick, you had a good point during the break. We haven't really talked about a couple guys moving on to the NFL. Torian York moving on to the NFL, and Chase Bosantis. And the Chase Bosantis one, was not unexpected. If you go to TexAgs.com, the premium subscriber Billy was talking about, it was trending in that direction. He posted it a couple days ago. So, and look, when you get a grade, what did they reveal what his grade was, or did anybody say it's the first or second round grade?
I don't
right?
think so. But if he's going, you got to think it's first, second, third round grade.
Yeah.
And same to Torian. At least Torian got the grade that he liked, I guess.
Yeah. And by the way, Penn State was the year prior, so I got the years wrong. But you get my point. In the first round, who did we lose to after the Nebraska game? Do you remember who that was? It was another game that I was like, why did we lose this game? Why did we abandon that? Yeah, Penn State.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, I should remember this. I don't know why it's not coming to me right now. Anyway, back to so look, I think Torian could have benefited from another year at A&M, but congratulations on etching himself in the history books. I think he's going to be a player we all remember for a long, long time. His motor, he had really good sound bites. He played the game at a very high level and used every ounce of his athletic ability. So congratulations to him.
We lost to Houston.
Oh, Houston, there you go. Houston, another game that I think that game was incredible. Right? That game.
Andy Garcia,
yeah. Yeah. How did I forget that one for a second? That's right. That was a game I thought they should have had. And at times I felt like there was no reason for them to get back in that game. Remember that? Like you're like, there's no way. That was amazing. Anyway, yeah, that's right. DWBTTS is reminded me that the Penn State game was the one that drove me crazy. Anyway, continue on with these guys. I think Chase Basantas probably made the right decision. I would have loved to see him stay one more, but when you get a grade of first and second round, even in today's NIL era, it makes too much sense to not test your chances in the NFL. So congrats to him. Torian, we'll see him hopefully play for a long time in the NFL. Would have loved to see him stick around, but next man up. And also, Coney's going to be there, and there's going to be some new opportunities for that linebacker crew that has to take another step up. They took a step up this past year. Some of the misfits were still an issue. They've got to get better at that, but absolutely looking forward to what Torian and company do the rest of the way. Excuse me, what the Aggies do, and yes, Torian and Chase Basantas at the NFL level. We'll hit a break, and we will come back and I think have Billy Liucci, if not on the phone, in person. One of those two options should be available to us. If you are looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land, or you already live in Aggie Land and need a new opportunity, check out the Association of Former Students that are looking to hire professionals to join their team. They get, openings in several different departments. They have fundraising, former student programs, and much, much more. They are the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization supporting Texas A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with all their awesome events like Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Rumor has it our executive editor, co-owner, Billy Liucci, is in the building. Is he holding court in the lobby? Is that what's going on, Nick?
No, he's back here.
Oh, he's just chill.
Talking business.
Yeah, just talking business. All right. Well, as we wait for Billy to get to the studio, I love when that happens. We're
Three times in a day and a half, David?
You know why it happens?
God.
You know why it happens?
Why does it happen?
I'll tell you the reason behind it. Because we don't play music during our YouTube breaks, which I think is creepy and weird, like I do. And then like when I check the comments and stuff or I listen to something, it pops up out of the blue. So I don't know.
I get it.
You know,
yeah.
So I think we should do something about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the traveling man, Billy Liucci, here with us straight from Chicago. How are you, sir?
How are you, David?
Good, man. What's going on?
I'm trying to think. I had an actual dream last night because, like, right before I went to sleep, I told Zane, like, hey, I'm going to come on tomorrow because I might be traveling again, and let's do an hour on the show. And I go, let me know, just because I knew you would be asleep because all this guy does is sleep. So I was like,
I get 8 hours a night.
So I was like, he's asleep. I'm going to call Richard. Way more available. And so I tell Richard to tell you in the morning. So I guess I wake up early. It's kind of on my mind. You know, you're half asleep still. It's kind of, well, I have a dream that we interview Tom Cruise. Okay. And he's got this new movie out that's like the blockbuster of blockbusters, right? It's like may as well be his next. He's back. Tom Cruise is back, right?
Did he ever go?
And he walks in to this studio, and he sees me, and he like does one of these, like how like an old buddy. Yeah. You're like, hey, and you see it in the background right here. And as soon as he sits down, you start like grilling this guy about like fighting questions and MMA, and telling him how you would kick his ass, this, that, and the other. And so the moral of the dream was that you never interviewed him about the movie because you went just so insane off of this fake punch he did that you had to make it all about MMA and UFC. And then he left, and we're like, Nuño, you didn't even ask about.
You're burying your lead here.
We're like, you had Tom Cruise here, and you didn't even ask him about his movie in studio.
You buried your lead.
What was the lead?
You had a dream where Tom Cruise treated you like a dear friend. Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Why? So all of it,
who has that dream?
You know what's funny is all of it made sense because the radio show and you and all you were talking about was that. And yeah, that's true. Where did Tom Cruise come from?
Your friend Tom Cruise. Now
could have been anybody else. Tom Cruise.
My good friend Danny Enriquez from Kane's Insight said he ran into you.
Yep, I did meet him.
And he was like, "Dude, Billy's aura." He was like, "You were holding court where you're at a hotel or something."
Yeah.
He's like, he could see it, like you had this aura, which I was like, okay.
The Gaylord after the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like Danny.
He's great.
They sent me a screenshot of him on the show yesterday. I'm really bummed that I can't go to this game in Arizona. But if Miami wins,
we should go.
I might go. Yeah. That's your city. That's the one place I would go with.
We could probably stay with my brother.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to do that.
Really? Why not?
He's got a great house.
Yeah, why would I not? But anyway, yeah, so Miami and Ole Miss, that's a fascinating one. Yeah. The more I think about it, and as good as Miami's defense has played, and I think we think about that a lot because it's what, ended A&M's season essentially was that Hurricane defense and that, I would say the pass rush, but it was really everything. And you saw the same thing against Ohio State, but they seem to really have it rolling. But then if you were to take a team right now, you would probably go Indiana, then Miami, like through this playoff that stand out. If you were to take player, you'd probably stick with Mendoza just from the simple fact that, he's just doing exactly what he did to get them a Heisman, and they just cruise control past Alabama. And then it would probably be Trinidad Chambliss. So outside of Indiana Mendoza, I think it's the Miami defense and it's Trinidad Chambliss. Ooh, I would say that Miami running back would be in the conversation too. Big number 4, but that he might be third because of what Chambliss did against Georgia. And so the Ole Miss offense against the Miami defense is fascinating to me because if there's one thing that jumped out to me, and Taylor was talking about this the other day, McGregor, and she it's covered Miami twice, trying to handicap that game. The tempo of Ole Miss. A&M does not do that. Ohio State does not do that. Chambliss, Keywan Lacey, they're in like a real rhythm with it, and those receivers. So that to me is what makes that game fascinating, because I love that Miami defense. I hated them a few weeks ago. I love them now. But Ole Miss's offense is a different beast in terms of Chambliss and the tempo. That to me is pretty fascinating. And by the way, Lacey and that running game are going stronger than A&M or Ohio State were going. The Aggies had the running game cooking first 2 months of the season. It had not been lately. Certainly, Ohio State's running game was not their strength. It is with Ole Miss. So I think, remember, A&M moved the ball with tempo late in that game when it looked like they might have like 3 possessions left. The Aggies drove down and stalled. Drove down, kicked the field goal. No, I think they drove down, kicked the field goal, drove down and stalled, and that was, I think, the drive where they could have had the touchdown. And then they drove down all the way to the 5-yard line. A lot of that, they sped up how they were playing. There was a different sense of urgency. Same thing with Ohio State there in that second half, and they started moving the ball and scoring points. Ole Miss will come out doing that. So that'll be the interesting thing to me to see. If I don't think they're going to shred Miami, but can Ole Miss win a 24-20, 23-17 type of game because they play tempo the whole game and they don't have that scoreless first half like A&M and Ohio State both did.
Are you rooting for any particular storyline?
I love the idea of Ole Miss doing it without Kiffin, but for those of you that don't know Lane Kiffin, he'll just take credit for it. I don't think that's going to hurt his feelings. I think he'll just fire off some tweets to get under everybody's skin and act like he won it. He did it. So I don't think it's quite the story, although I do like watching Chambliss play, and I do, and I like. But I don't want those coaches that are going back and forth winning rings either. I don't really like the feel of that. Honestly, the Indiana and Miami stories are pretty damn cool either way, especially when you consider how Miami really was like that close to not making the playoff at all. They didn't know they were in until they saw the A&M and then boom, the Miami. They did not know they were in. So that, and just how it's been like a quarter century since they've been really legit. And so that one, I like all the stories. And I've got, a good friend on the Oregon staff and Marshall. We still stay in touch all the time. So any of those teams would feel like I'd have to be a little bit like, oh, that's a pretty cool story. So if I'm picking one, it might be Miami because of that Miami crew. And it has nothing to do with what people accuse Aggies of doing, which, well, the team would beat us, won the national title. I'm already past that. I already know how good the team that beat A&M is.
Yeah.
Whether they win or lose against Ole Miss. Like, that was a really tough draw. We know all the reasons and ways A&M could have and should have played better. Sure, Miami would say the same thing with the missed field goals and such, but I think those were 2 really evenly matched teams that, it's 3-3, 58.5 minutes into the game, and you lose by 5 yards. That's it. Tough draw, man. I mean, it is what it is. Could they have beaten Ohio State? Yeah. Would they have beaten Ohio State? Who the heck knows? I think that would be another low-scoring kind of rock fight after watching, the Aggies and Buckeyes in back-to-back weeks.
Set a break. We'll come back with a shorter segment, talk some basketball before we start recruiting country, transfer country, really. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. What we're going to do here is, if you're watching on TexAgs.com and YouTube, we're not going to take a break. We're just going to continue going, and then Bronny will join us to start off the 10 o'clock hour. Billy, I wanted to make sure we chatted basketball because I know we're going to do a lot of transfer portal talk on the other side. What a freaking game last night, man!
That was hard to believe. I mean, so many emotions. You know, you're sitting there watching, go, man, they're on the road, they're shorthanded, and you know, they're just not there yet. And this is their first like massive SEC test, and I'm with you. I heard you earlier, like 10, 12 points with the style of play A&M does. You can erase it. 16, those getting in, and you're 16 on the road, and you're going, man, they're running out of time to make any kind of run here. And then, like you said, to go 11 in basically the amount of time it takes some teams for a possession, right? It's insane. It was absolutely insane. And then to go up by what? Was it as many as 12 or 14? I think they went up by as many as 12. It's like a 28-point swing within a half.
31-3, I think, was the run. Something like 31-6,
I think the run was 31-6. I don't know. But, yeah, to end up with a 28-point swing within the same half is just unheard of. For, Auburn to be playing so well and then A&M to play so well within the same half. And then you had that thing, that bugaboo that bit A&M in two of their 3 losses, right? What was the third loss there? Or what were the losses? It was SMU. It was SMU and
Central
UCF.
Florida,
yeah.
And the third one.
It was Oklahoma State.
Yep.
So that one, yeah, exactly. So those 2 losses were, that's what got them. And there's been I think, was it Montana? There's been another game where it almost happened again. So they've been there, done that. And I would say that experience helped them, but I don't know if it did. I think but Bucky's right. It should have never come to that. The refs stopping that clock, and so that's what even gave them the opportunity to do that. And then also, the Aggies missed free throws, and they've been, at times they're such a good free throw shooting team, and the guys on the court could shoot them, and they missed 2 front ends of 1-and-1s, and you left 4 points out there when even 2 of them in that game would have felt more over even throughout all that. But none of that matters. They won the game. I think it would have been you saw on TV the players, you saw Bucky. Like, Bucky was still coaching during that delay, but you saw the players were really dejected. They couldn't believe that they let that one get away. Auburn's celebrating. They're talking trash.
And they celebrated again.
Then they celebrated a second time when they showed it.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. It was so close that even the fans looking on the Jumbotron, that they all must have been like me, where they couldn't see, where I'm getting made fun of now for my... Do you do that?
What's that? Make fun of your eyes?
That too. A light in a menu in a restaurant, a dark restaurant.
The closer I get to 50, the more I have to...
See, that's what it is. I got to be careful. You can't... I'm just going to have to,
just get glasses.
But now I've been... Well, I need to wear my contact. But now I got outed on social media.
I saw that, yeah.
And now it, pardon the pun, shines a light on the fact I just need to maybe casually be like, what are you getting? Oh, what are you going to get?
And just do that.
And just kind of through the whole table, kind of absorb the menu and then order without looking. Could be a new thing. But anyway, they thought they saw a basket. They cheered again. The players are going nuts.
When I first saw it, I thought it
That's
too.
when I thought it was over.
Yeah.
And when I first saw it, I thought it was good. But this very second replay they showed, I go, oh, that might be on his fingertips. I don't know why TV never froze it right there.
Yeah,
they never did. And but man, what a wave of emotions both teams rode there at the end. But so cool for them to win that game. And look, they're 2-0 in SEC. They just won a quad 1 road game at Auburn. Continued what?
Nobody's talking to you.
There's somebody out there. Continued their dominance of Auburn, which is crazy for as good as Auburn's been during this time period. But what a win. I think that obviously it is without question, the biggest win of the Bucky McMillan era. The way they did it, that is a total team bonding thing. And for Pop Isaacs to play the way he did, and some of the guys in that game that hit those insane shots, to bring A&M back. That's a culture win. That is a turning point type of win. It doesn't mean it has to be, but if A&M goes on, that is exactly the type of game that would be. So I'm happy for them. I'm fired up. And look, now they've got another winnable game coming up at home. And you hear Bucky trying to get the fans going. You hear the mascot, Luke, trying to get them going. And they're right. And I'm going to turn Luke loose. Luke is going back to Pack Reed Evangelist.
Good.
Because that's what they need this weekend. They have a chance to be 3-0 in the SEC. You're playing a home game against a team that you can beat, an unranked conference opponent. Like, let them come in here. Let Reed Arena sound like the jungle there last night in Auburn and try to get you a win.
Go to 3-0 before you head to a very good Tennessee road trip. That would be amazing.
Yeah, the difference in winning this one and then going to Tennessee, again, going there 3-0, even if you came back, and I'm not chalking up a loss, but even if you came back 3-1, 4 games into your conference schedule,
you're ahead of schedule.
Feeling great about that. Well, you're ahead of schedule, but it's not even. It's about trying to get to the postseason this year. It's about trying to get to the NCAA tournament. So, with their non-conference resume, do they have to win 9? Is it 10? You're in a race to get there. So, to kind of look at it as there's 18 games, right? And you're still 18, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the way the SEC does it
with the extra teams.
4 games in, you've gotten 3. So, in the last 14. You go 7-7, you're probably in the postseason. So, I mean, it is a big one on Saturday.
Yeah. Hey, let's turn our attention to recruiting country. Bronny can join us here on the program. If you're listening on the Zone, welcome back to the program. It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. And recruiting country is presented by American Momentum Bank, the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan College Station. They're committed to helping our community prosper by offering you a wide array of personal and business banking solutions designed to help build financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. And with that, Ryan Brauninger joining the conversation.
I don't like being the meat in this sandwich.
Well, it's like thin bread?
Well, on one side, Cuban thin bread. On the other side, I got an Italian semolina.
Is that a bread?
Really?
I just think of Italian bread.
Yeah.
It's a semolina.
Is that the skinnier one?
So it's kind of a crispy, crocante. You know what that means?
Crocante.
Means crispy in Italian.
Huh, I did not know that.
I didn't realize we were sitting over here.
Yeah, but you're allowed to scoot over to 3 if you want.
I didn't realize.
Touching knees.
Oh, hairy knees,
you don't have to
shorts.
Sit.
Oh.
Listen, dude, they're already talking about how you sit in those chairs.
Right.
So
that has nothing to do with
you don't have to sit. Trust me, you don't have to sit like this.
Those chairs are the most unflattering thing we have in this office.
I think they look good.
This guy. I
know.
It's the subtle, full of himself that really grinds your gears, right? Like it's like this thing where it's.
I'll tell you something.
3 guys, and I'm the one who's full of myself.
Coach Early came in here. Remember last time Coach Early came in here and he was like, "Hey, me and you got some stuff in common on air." And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Anyway, he was talking about I thought you were going to hit him with the workout routine. So.
Oh, he's on a different level. Like, that guy is a jacked human being. Like, I'm a tryhard, as Nick pointed out earlier.
Whoa. You called him that, Nick?
He did. He called me a tryhard.
About what? What did he do?
About just life, basketball.
Why? Oh, that you think you can play?
No, I don't think I can play. I just try harder than everybody. That's it. And if you don't try in life, you suck.
Oh.
Anyway, can we talk? There's a lot to talk about.
Time out. I do have. I do have something about. There was something Nuño did, and now, gosh, I wish we weren't live on air. I'd have time to think about it. But in the midst of that conversation, man, I had a great one for you that he did. Now I've forgotten it. So we'll have
wasn't
to keep
that good
going.
then?
If I think about it, we'll revisit this. I reserve the right to randomly pop in
I do like your hair shorter.
in the middle of this.
Well, it shows way more grays when it's shorter, though. That's
Yeah,
the
but
only
like
thing.
but you know what? When it's long, like when you've got it really flowing, you give me a little Desi Arnaz.
What's wrong with that? He's a legend. One of the greatest
Did I
shows
say anything
ever.
was wrong with it?
Well, but
you talking about
well,
guilty
you did.
conscience? No, I didn't.
You did. You basically
did.
said, I don't like
Yeah,
when you
that's
look
negative.
like Desi Arnaz.
No,
Because it makes you look like Desi Arnaz, and that's
Yeah.
because
no, I said when it gets long,
Yeah.
you look like Desi Arnaz.
it wasn't a compliment though with the way you said it.
No.
Like I really like when you have long hair; it looks like Desi Arnaz, or I like it
I like
better
your
shorter.
shortcut too. What if it's just I just like your hair? I don't have any, so you and Billy have these full heads of hair. As older gentlemen.
Everyone was crushing me for wearing the hat at the steakhouse the other night, but I was like, I was not in a position to feel comfortable with what I was doing with my hair because I didn't know if I could. I ran out of time. I ran out of time to fix it. But
That's
I was
quite
like,
the line
man,
from Billy Liucci, isn't it?
like I need like see how it goes right now. You can't. But yeah, that is.
Would you
good.
put product in there, or you just let it flow?
Right there, that's just flowing. I mean, that's good hair. I need to start working with it.
They're
a little
burying
more.
your boy Mincy.
Oh, I know. He's taking a beating all week. It's only going to get worse for him. Well, it's funny. I think of Nuño kind of as our version of Mincy. Similar, but different.
I don't know enough about him. Tell me why.
Y'all don't look the same.
No,
But
It's not even close, dude.
no, I'm Latino.
He's trolling
He's
you.
very white.
Mincy's great. He's
He's very funny.
And what's funny is he's very self-aware of his role in the whole thing and just embraces it and also understands that is, as he will say, it makes him like he believes this, and he said it, I think, yesterday, they can't get rid of him because he's moving the needle too much.
He said that
and he's just leaned into it.
He said when Dave Portnoy writes his book, there's going to be a chapter about Ben Mintz.
Yeah, he does not care. Like that dinner, that he called the Hall of Fame dinner, which was hilarious. And he went, he went and got a haircut for it. And keep in mind, like, it's not like there was some kind of like blind date element. These are like friends of his at work, and just fired up for it, the conversation and catching up with everybody. And it was a good time. But yeah, like it's just hilarious hearing him talk. And he definitely was ready for that trip to Arizona. And then the subsequent trip to Miami, if it happens. And then he's got maybe a little something planned for after Miami to just kind of just push the envelope even more if he can.
Yeah.
So could you imagine?
Luke.
It's one of the ways that I feel like Dave Portnoy's angst, because imagine if one of our people were doing that and just justifying all these various trips and in between is an actual vacation and then and in between that is the actual holidays. Like, I would be like losing my mind. Like it would just be like, no, we're not even. But then again, it's like it's moving the needle.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I realized what we were going to say. There's a pocket of Longhorn people
Don't like me.
that hate you more than they do me.
What's that about?
Are you aware of that?
I've been told.
It's crazy. They like loathe for. And I'm the one that
is that Rahil's fault?
No,
I think it's when
they
I
think
like
he's
look at
condescending and
and I look
arrogant,
at the camera, I say it in my face. They don't like that.
arrogant, condescending, wants to fight.
Yeah. So far, check.
They've turned it into. I don't think you're condescending, but they think you are.
That's fine.
But yeah, I just think it's funny that there's a growing group that'll go, I don't think Liucci's that bad. That Nuño guy sucks.
You know what?
Because he's like the nicest. But to go and I'm sitting here every day getting into it with them, and they're like, no, I can deal with him. It's that other guy.
I've started to where I hit mute notifications as soon as every tweet.
Oh yeah.
But so I don't really realize this stuff until I go back and scroll through my own profile. Dude, I got the Texas Tech fans riled up, and they are. I guess that.
Oh, I saw that.
They
tweet,
have gotten. They have gotten themselves really inflated.
Yeah, they're the worst. They are the actual. They're the actual worst on Twitter. It used to be OU, because they're real. Like, you say one thing about their football team, and they come back with like, they'll go for it. And I don't think they understand. Like, they try to, you can feel them trying to, embarrass or hurt feelings. It's like, dude, it's not that part of it. It's the fact that the concept of you trying to do it is what makes people hate you. You're not actually offending or affecting anyone on Twitter, but it's the concept that makes people go, what a sorry group of people. And it's Twitter. It's not the actual fan base. Tech Twitter, and it's funny because they do the cactus, so you just see them coming. So it adds to it. It's like boom, 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 boom. And everything I said about Tech, I was right. Every single bleeping thing I said about Texas Tech was right. I said I didn't trust their offense. I wanted to see how their O-line and quarterback held up against a real defense. And I didn't think they'd played one all year. And then I wanted to see. I thought their schedule was weak as hell, and they were going to get exposed. Maybe not in game one. I actually thought they could beat Oregon, but they weren't a national title contender like people were saying. And I thought Joey McGuire gave up something on the coaching side to some of these guys in the field. And I was right about all three of those things without question. And I also said all along, I don't know why you got on their crosshairs, but I said I got no problem with what Cody Campbell and Texas Tech are trying to do. I applaud them for it.
All I said was get ready to have the same exact discussion about Texas Tech next year that we just had.
Yeah.
With a screenshot of their schedule next year.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It is. It's a joke.
They're going to be undefeated again next year, or one loss.
Play somebody. Yeah. Play somebody.
And look, there's a good segue into your portal talk because they've been cleaning up like A&M's been cleaning up so far.
What have they been doing besides QB and the DN? I haven't followed them enough.
They got 2 receivers that they really.
And I heard that number for the San Diego State DN is well north of $2 million.
Yeah.
So you're at $7 million between a quarterback and a DN.
DN, and they got the number 1 interior defensive lineman from Wake Forest that was in the portal.
Yeah, I saw that one.
They nabbed 2 receivers already, and they're still in the Cam Coleman sweepstakes.
Cam Coleman, but you get those 2 that they got and him, and
their transfer portals in 12, out 19. By the way, according to On3, Indiana is ranked number 1 with 8 in, 1 out. So
Indiana.
And the portal rankings they're even harder to
understand
figure than the high school.
I don't know if Indiana had a committable offer or a competitive offer for Parker Livingston compared to the OU one. But if they did, I think that guy made a big-time mistake. If I was a portal guy right now and you let me pick between those 2 schools, I'm going Indiana.
Well, it's more, to me, Billy, it's more of an example of you can say whatever you want to about what you're looking for in your next stop when you go into the portal. But as we know, sitting here, we watch David Nuño eat a giant cake for $3,500. Every man has his price. Mm-hmm. So he goes into the portal, and the better quarterback fit, the more successful offense, the more pro-ready offense that is going to improve your stock for the NFL is in Bloomington, Indiana, over Norman, Oklahoma. Who would have thought that 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the truth of the matter. And so Oklahoma had to make up that difference somehow.
If they did.
Right.
I mean, he might have gone to Oklahoma to spite Texas.
Rumored. Yeah, just what's rumored. Yeah.
He might have gone to Oklahoma to spite the horns and want to play closer to home. Is he from Prosper? Or is he from?
He's from Lucas Lovejoy.
Yeah, so he might have wanted to be closer to home too.
Yeah.
So. But I'm just saying, Indiana's got it rolling.
Yeah.
And Signetti's got it rolling, and they got who? They got Hoover.
Yeah, Hoover.
Yeah. They might not miss a beat.
So before we get into the guys that have committed to A&M, is there anything that we want to talk about of what's happening right now? There's guys on campus, right? There's still conversations with Cam Coleman ongoing. Where are we with things, Brian?
Yeah, Bryson Washington.
Who's still here?
Sahir West is still here. I think Tyree Adams might be wrapping up. He just announced his commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I believe those offensive linemen are still here. William Formby is still here. I think Jacarius Peak is still here. Bryson Washington, as I mentioned, arrives today. There could be another name or 2 we're tracking to see if they make an appearance in College Station today that I know Billy mentioned one of the names last night. Don't want to give too much away. He had a late night update that had a name that was very intriguing. I think A&M's in a good spot for him too. But there's a lot going on for them on campus today. So on top of those visitors, you also have move-in day for the class of 2026. And so these coaches are really pulled in because you want you have to, this portal stuff is important, but you have sunk so much time, effort, and resources into these high school kids that the day they arrive on campus, you don't need to be no-showing them.
Right.
So the coaches have got to be over there as well at move-in day. So it's going to be busy across the street. It's going to be really busy for us here as well, or we anticipate it. But that's kind of where we're at sitting here in this moment.
So I guess we start with offensive line. Or we start with, like, who do we feel – I wrote last night, like, who do we feel best about? And to me – well, who did I write about at the time? I think I wrote about
Adams,
Tyree.
And you wrote about Formby.
And that one happened.
Yep.
I mean, when I'm gone for 10 minutes, I don't know. Has Formby said anything yet?
Not to my – we did have a declaration for Trey Wilson, who was on A&M's radar, had visited. He committed to LSU this morning.
Yeah, and that's a big one for them. If he can stay healthy.
I think A&M – they didn't more than dip their toe in the water, David, on that one. But it was very much like this. The injury history is really concerning. So
wide receiver is going to be really interesting to me if they don't get Cam Coleman. Like, where do they go? Canyon at Georgia Tech. A lot of people now think he's trending Georgia. That was a guy I think A&M could have gotten. There was a receiver up at Rutgers for a while that I was kind of hinting at, and it was him. He was like third leading receiver in the Big Ten. Thought about entering, and he didn't. And you wonder if the Cam Coleman thing got in the way of that. So
I do think that's going to have trickle effect.
Yeah.
There'll be some, no matter what Coleman does, it will alter the plans in College Station, Austin, Tuscaloosa, Lubbock, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the biggest one.
Well, how do you caddy that now, though? Because with Alabama entering the race and the association with the Auburn assistant coach that went there, how does that kind of change things?
Well, let's get this straight. Alabama didn't just enter the race.
Right, they've been in it.
Yeah.
They've been, and we want to differentiate. We want to make sure that people understand that, like, we've had pretty good sourcing on this, and I had a really good source yesterday, a good line to what was going on, and I put that out, and then all of a sudden the Bama people are like, oh, he actually is visiting. Bama is in this thing. But, yeah, I think it's – and Billy will probably echo this same thing, but it's like – and he said it numerous times on the board, like, whoever you talk to in this deal with Cam Coleman, they have a reason to believe that they're in the lead or they've got a legit chance. And it's through different areas. So, like, Tech feels like they can NIL him. Texas has the connection to the agent. A&M has got the comfortability, familiarity with the people here, being committed, the surroundings, the town. And then Alabama has his former receivers coach.
Right.
So, like, every team in this mix has a reason to believe that they are in the catbird seat, and it's different from the next team. So, nobody really – to me, that's the agent doing a pretty good job.
Well, it's also he could have gone into this without an agent and just not said a word and gone on 4 visits and watched the price go up and like, he's that good. There's that too. And yeah, Mugheletta is as good as there is in the game right now in football. I mean, look no further than a certain defensive end that went from Dallas to Green Bay, and then his highly publicized dealings with Jerry Jones. I mean, some fans would hate him, some fans love him. That means you're doing a good job as an agent. But you bring that into the college realm, and it's different. But I'm sure on some level, some of these coaching staffs do like to see and deal with at least a professional and someone that, versus some of what they're doing. I've heard horror stories. I've heard stories of guys coming here to commit, and the recruitment's been going on, and they're literally coming. This is the only visit, and they're going to commit. And then they get a call from an agent that they've never talked to that says, hey, you guys, he's not visiting this weekend. You guys didn't make his top 5. It's like, what?
I could one-up you there. I heard a story
myself. There's 10 of those.
I heard a story yesterday of a kid sitting in an office with a head coach. Not here, and it was a lower level, but he's sitting in the office with a head coach. And he says, Coach, I'm committed. I'm coming here. They get the agent on the phone. The agent says, no, he didn't mean that. What he really meant was, so like these agents aren't.
They have the power.
They are controlling the whole thing. When the coach is like, I'm looking the kid in the eye. He's like, yeah, but he really didn't mean that. This is what we want.
College football, I think, right now, what everyone's talking about and all this, I think the biggest issue are some of these agents who are not agents. There are some great agents. There's some good agents. There's some great agents. But there is a lot of them that aren't agents, that are literally learning as they go, and they're literally all but robbing these kids and their families too. I've heard ones where they put all these crazy clauses and incentives in these contracts that will never be achieved. And the player goes, "Oh, that's $1 million deal." Yeah, if you look at that last 400,000, like you're actually going to get it, but the agent's getting his cut of $1 million. That's the deal you sign. Kid's going to see 600 of that.
Right.
I've seen. There's also the deals with the agents on the side saying, "Give me my cut," and then still taking their cut. I mean, it's a terrible thing. And I don't know how it gets fixed.
Pay the agent to visit. That's another common one.
Yeah. So
like, what incentive is there for the agent to, even if this client is in a really good spot on his first visit,
right,
to commit, if the agent is going to be getting another $5 or $10,000 at each visit subsequent, so
it's bad.
It's a disaster.
With that said, we're talking about who A&M is in line to get. And I think the names I said last night were Adams, who has since jumped in the boat, Wilcom Formby, who I think the Aggies are really high on at Bama. They were all over that as soon as he went into the portal. And then I mentioned Anto Saka, the Northwestern defensive end, and I think he's another one that's like way up on that priority list. And I think those would probably be your next three.
Eno Etta.
And Eno Etta
is
like on the
up
fence.
in the air.
Yeah.
I will say the longer one it distances himself from a visit and sits on the fence if the other school is the place they're at. So you'd like to see that one happen for A&M here in the next day or two.
You just think about the comfortability. Like, he's got all of his stuff in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have to go up there and get it and move it all. Like, it may just be like, man, it's just so much easier to just stay where I'm at.
Right.
But if they get him, I think it's really significant because I do still think there's a need for another interior. And by all accounts, and I was actually with some Michigan people in Chicago that follow this stuff really closely, and they thought like he would be a guy that was set to start up there and be pretty impactful, and he would be here as well. Like,
looks like Bobby Brown, built like
Bobby his
Brown.
Frame and length for it. Like he's what I've been saying. I want to see A&M have on the inside. It's what I hope DJ Sanders can morph into. He's already there in terms of his development. So that would be a huge one to get him. So he's one that like he could pop before somebody on this list, right? And then I mentioned also Ricky Gibson, the corner out of Tennessee. And he's a guy that corner is also a pretty significant need to try to get a starting caliber guy. And look, somebody can beat him or Dez out, but when you're looking at your team and you go, if you could put that duo together, because Gibson was, him and was it Jamad McCoy?
Yes.
Those two going down really derailed Tennessee's season because they had no one that could play corner like those two. But he's a stud. If they can get him, you start to feel really good about that A&M secondary next year with the guys coming back. Plus, you get a corner from Tennessee, a safety from Colorado. You start to really feel good about it. Not to mention some of these kids coming in from the high school rank.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back, kind of go through some of the guys that have committed, the more recent ones. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. In today's fast-paced world, Caldwell Country Chevrolet brings that car buying experience right to your fingertips. Just use your phone or use your laptop. You can browse their constantly updated inventory, and their deals change month to month, so you want to make sure you're on top of that, especially when you start your process. You want to find the perfect match, calculate your trade-in value, even start the financing process, all from the comfort of your home. And they have great deals, and they're a proud supporter of Aggie Athletics, and they have numerous local charitable organizations as well. They're deeply invested in our community, and when you shop with them, you're supporting a business that gives back to the community. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So we've been talking about the potentials, but we've got some guys that have committed. Billy and I talked about a couple of them on Monday, but let's kind of work our reverse way up. Tyree Adams, we touched on it a moment ago, but that was a big one for A&M to get.
Yeah, almost 20 games played at LSU at tackle, 6'7", 310. This was a type of body that they were looking for in the portal on the offensive line. When you're losing so many snaps, Billy, like you have to, if you can go find a tackle body, which are hard to come by, and go find a tackle body that has played that much ball in this league, I thought it was a no-brainer when Tyree Adams went in that they would at least like put the pedal down and go after it, make a run at him, and they got him.
Yeah, he kind of cut from that physical mold of like a Crown Over and a Father in terms of that tall, towering tackle. And like you said, there's not really that on campus. I think like Lamont Rogers has a really bright future. He's just finished year one, true freshman, going into year two. You let him develop at his pace. So Lamont Rogers, they could look up this spring and be like, this guy's ready to start, and he'll start the next 2 years and go be a top 5 pick. Like that, if that happened,
that's
great.
His ceiling, yeah.
If that happens, great. If not, if he takes a little longer, you have these veteran SEC tackles that you're starting to stockpile. And the offensive line is a really interesting position because they had Peak here, or have whichever, if they've gone home yet today. Hurd, Peak, Adams, Formby, and then you've committed to already now with Adams, and I guess the other guy you're going to talk about is or three. Yeah, actually three.
Trevon Balco and Eccles.
Eccles to me was one that I think A&M the Aggies have had their eyes on for a while. Probably knowing the way this works, probably as soon as Brian Kelly was let go, probably not too long after that, you start, through the college football circles and these agents we talked about, and just the grapevine, they probably have been aware that was going to be someone that was going out in. And look, the Aggies had him committed for so long. He's from Katy. That one was a no-brainer. And his versatility, guys, is what I really like, especially when you're replacing so much on the O-line. You better have a couple guys that can play multiple positions. And Eccles, on an O-line that struggled, Tyree Adams is a ton of talent. Eccles is a guy that I think was one of their better performers up front.
Yeah.
It's crazy that O-line was so bad.
With those guys,
actually
yeah.
embarrassing.
They were young. They were young, and obviously the coaching was.
I'm not getting at the kids. I'm getting at the coaching, because if they're good enough that A&M's looking at 2 of them and taking them, and Ole Miss just took Kern, I think it was yesterday. That's 3, and I think there's a whole nother one. I know you've always thought Weston Davis was pretty good.
He's super athletic. I didn't think that was going to be a great fit whenever he went in. And A&M didn't really pursue him. But
no.
Speaking of, you've gotten 2 from LSU, and you got 1 from South Carolina. And Trovon Ball, and that's another group where you just kind of read what their fans are saying. It was like, man, this kid's good. The coaching just killed him here. So you trust Adam Cushing, and I actually talked to I exchanged some texts with an NFL scout I asked him, I said, what do you think about Trovon Ball? He's like, man, I actually like him a lot more than some others do. He's like, Adam Cushing can get more out of him. It's like he's got good power. Like, it's apparent on tape when you watch him that he plays with a ton of juice. Like. Short area power. He said, if Cushing can coach him, this is a good pickup.
So they're sitting at 3. We think in pretty short order they'd be up at 4. I actually envision them taking 5 when it's all said and done, because and
in doing so, you may run some guys.
Well, there's one guy on the O-line, and it's not Lamont, who I just talked about, but there's a guy on the O-line that is kind of wrestling back and forth with what he's going to do. And, you don't have a ton. You have true freshmen coming in, and then you've got your guys that just finished year one. They had to have looked around college football this year, and the teams that really struggled, and just look no further, too, than Texas. It took them until it's almost like the last third of the season, like game LSU. 9 and on, LSU. When you go at that much youth, when you don't have to, then it's on you. And especially when you spend all this money, not just A&M, but any school, you spend all this money to bring a quarterback back or go get one in a portal, you better freaking block for him.
Yep.
So this is not just about at this position and on the D-line, you're going to take some guys in the portal that aren't going to start, but might end up starting because they have to. You're going to take some guys that are going to start and star, and you're going to take some guys that you think might be depth pieces. But to me, because of that and because of how much they lost, I think you see them take 5 when it's all said and done, if they can.
All right, let's hit a break here. Do another segment. Is that all right?
Follow me.
Sure.
Cool. Milliken Reserve time. We'll have Tom Schuberth at the end of the show, by the way. They're a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on that beautiful land. If you like to be outdoors, Milliken Reserve is a great place to connect with your family and with nature and with each other. You'll love it. 2,600 acres of open space. They have the 30 miles of trails. They got the farms. They got the homes. And when you go to those trails, you're going to have a great time out there. Wooded landscape with walking paths, equestrian paths, creeks and ponds, and gathering areas. And they're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. They provide a setting for people to connect and come together. It is millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Check them out. All right, we're back here. We're going to do another segment of Recruiting Country brought to you by American Momentum Bank. We'll continue on with the yesterday edge Ryan Henderson committing. Ronnie.
Yeah, a kid that has really, like, you look at his career arc and he's steadily gotten better from Las Vegas, Nevada. I don't think he played a ton of high school football. So he gets in at San Diego State, and every year he was there, obviously, he kept getting better, getting more opportunities. And last year emerged as one of the top pass rushers in the Mountain West. And like Billy said, is it Trey White, the guy opposite of him, got a lot of attention, just signed with Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan Henderson had 7.5 sacks last year, 9.5 tackles for loss. That was like a steady, continued progression of him getting better. And what have we seen? I mean, you just look across the street at the last couple of years, a mid-major edge rusher was A&M's best defensive player.
How many spots do you think are still? I know, Billy, you mentioned maybe two guys here over the next couple of a little bit we could get. But how many spots do you think are still available in the portal?
Corner for sure.
I think need-wise, let's just assume they're going to end up with 4 or 5 O-linemen. Need-wise, you still have a pretty significant need at defensive end. I think, but we feel good about them addressing that, and maybe pretty emphatically. We'll see here pretty soon, but defensive end would probably be sitting still at number 1. Then I think finding that other corner and then finishing out your O-line and getting an impact receiver. So those would be in my top needs. It doesn't mean they're not going to do something else.
5 or 6 left, do you think? They're at 10 right now.
Yeah, probably.
I like that you left off one position, and I want to talk about it. It's running back.
I was going to ask about that.
Running back is an if situation.
Mm-hmm.
We want a guy if
he does this.
Like, on the field, we have to like him, obviously. And I've mentioned it a couple of times in the transfer portal thread. I think they're looking for what is affectionately known as a pile puller. That was a I didn't come up with that.
I know you don't come up with most of what you say.
Well, there's other people that rip more. Well, we won't get into that.
Ooh. Help me out. What is it?
But a pile puller is what it was described to me as somebody to get between the tackles and move the pile forward. Bryson Washington, I think physically on the field fits a lot of what they would like to do at running back if the other considerations that go into recruiting out of the transfer portal fit now.
Right.
I don't think they view running back as a must-have need, but if they can get a guy that kind of aligns with everything they're looking for, then they will go on that, and they're hoping that it's Bryson Washington with his visit today.
Here's my issue. I'm supposed to meet somebody for a late breakfast, early lunch, and I said I'm on the way. And they go, if you're on the way, why do I still hear you on radio? And
we'll hit a break here.
I said it's delayed. But
is
now
it Coach
I just
Early?
outed myself again. No, so
Coach
running back.
Coach Early guilted him into a breakfast trip, by the way.
Here's my situation. Here's my situation at running back, or my thought. Here are my thoughts. And it's hard because players, and players listen, their parents listen, they read everything they can read. It's like, go look around college football. Find me the running back stable that's going into the year with a lot of unproven and low numbers. You're nuts if you do that, especially in the SEC. So I look at Ruben Owens as a proven veteran commodity. You know exactly what and you don't even know exactly what he is, because I think he can get better again, just like he got a lot better from sophomore to junior. But so Ruben's a proven commodity. Jamarian Morrow is your man. He's a stock going up, semi-proven now. You got to feel great about what he could look like this year. You lost E.J. Smith. You lost Le'Veon Moss. You lost Amari Daniels. So you have 3 going out, and I don't know where Tiger Ryden's at in his development, but I feel great about Morrow and Owens. And then you've got 2 really talented true freshmen coming in.
Yep.
And KJ Edwards, a guy that they've been covering forever, that everybody's so excited about. I'm sorry, man. Unless you told me that Ryden is just going to hit the ground running and be just an absolute dude, like 2 veterans and one guy that's entering year 2 and 2 true freshmen, that's not the way you want to roll into a season at Tailback. That's just my opinion. but I could see them doing that. I
It
could see
could
them
work.
doing that.
That situation you're describing, it could work, but you'd like some insurance in case it doesn't. It's not, it's
And
not
a
all that
different-
different than linebacker, which we haven't
Yeah.
talked about either.
Right.
Like Torian leaves, you got Ray Coney coming in. Do you need one? You're going to have 8 in the room next year. 4 of those are true freshmen.
And you play 2.
Right. And 4 of those are true freshmen. You'd bet on one of those true freshmen, especially since they'll all be here today. One of those true freshmen can probably impact your team next year.
I would have liked to have seen one more because we saw it happen last year. When Scooby got hurt, you were really down to 2. And Noah McHale was the freshman that was the most ready.
I think he's going to be a player.
Oh, I do too. But last year, he was not. He was just about mid-season. You started to see him a little more. But they got to pretty bare bones thin. If York or Sanford would have gotten hurt and had to miss a week, they'd have had an issue.
So you don't think, though, that one of these freshmen coming in could do the same thing that Noah McHale did?
Yeah, but I'm saying that
just provide quality depth.
I'm saying that still puts you in kind of the same position.
I love Ray Coney.
When you had York, Scooby, and Sanford, and then you were relying on guys that hadn't played, and this year you'd have Coney, Sanford, and McHale, and guys that hadn't played. So
Jordan Lockhart's development could be.
Okay, that's the big one. I'm glad you said him because I always forget to mention him, and every time he's on the field, I like him. And physically, he's there, and now he's gotten some good playing experience. McHale and Lockhart could absolutely change the way we look at this position moving forward.
Just a quick question before we hit a break. Any Jacob Zeno type situation out there, you think?
I
or
don't
no?
think so.
No.
Do not think so.
I haven't
They're
heard
happy
of
with
anything like that.
Brady Hart and Helaman Kasuga and Eli Morkos.
Good room. All right, we'll hit a
All right.
break. We'll come back, talk to Tom Schuberth, a little Aggie basketball next on TexAgs Live. I'm not lying to you, Tom Schuberth. The people have been clamoring for Tom Schuberth. They're like, we want the coach. Figurine Champ on the YouTube chat was excited about having you on. Welcome back to the program, TexAgs Live. What's up, buddy?
I love it. I'm glad to be here. Like a kid at Christmas, get to come back and talk to you, and especially talk Aggie hoops. I love it.
Well, let's get into some things here. So that game yesterday, I don't know how, like, if you didn't watch it, I don't know how you describe it with somebody with the clarity that it deserves. Like, A&M, tell me if you agree with this. First part of the game, A&M dictated everything, right? I'd say the first 15 minutes, maybe 17 minutes. Auburn, because of their athletic ability and their ability to hit shots, kept it close. And then they closed out great. Then they started the second half great. Then A&M goes on this incredible 28-second run where you score 11 points. You erase a 16-point deficit. Now you're like, all right, we're in the middle of this. We've got an opportunity here. And they didn't just have an opportunity. They seized control, lost control. Last second shot, it goes in. I don't know what to think, and it turns out to be too late. And there was a bunch of missed free throws at the end too.
Right. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, that's the buckyball system, you know. And again, I don't know all of Bucky's, ins and outs, but I do know that system playing at UNLV. Jerry Tarkanian was the guy that really started it back in the 70s. Yeah. The people kind of more familiar with his 90 team, the team that won it all, and then lost to Duke in 91.
I'm glad you brought up that team because if you remember on this show, our buddy Luke Evangelist told us that Auburn, that the same program, was better than that. That last year's Auburn team was better than that UNLV team. But anyway, continue on.
So you're going to have a lot of highs and lows, but the great thing is you never are out of a game, and that was a perfect example. And what I love that we won the game is that Bucky and his staff, I guarantee you, that's going to be such a subliminal message to them. Whenever they get really down or even when they get a lead, the word Auburn will come to mind. I know when I was a coach, whether assistant or head coach, you tried to revert back to some successful times that happened. So it's in their mind, hey, we can do this, or we need to take care of the basketball. So that was a great opportunity to show what buckyball can do, because really they haven't had a game where they showed they can come back from a deficit that was so far down and won, and this was the first example of it.
Look, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way. They have a very tough SEC schedule, as they all do, and I don't know if this is a tournament team, an NIT team, but what I do know is I like watching this team play basketball. And they've been given some jabs, right? So, Bucky getting a roster put together with nobody. What you thought your lottery pick best player doesn't really play, and now he's done for the year. Yet they're over here and they're learning. You can see the system is starting to click.
Absolutely. I think it's not so much buying in, because I think the guys have bought in from the start. Who doesn't want to play that way? But the one negative of playing in a system like that is you're probably not going to play 30, 35 minutes a game, which guys want to do. If you're going to be successful in a system like this, you have to be the most unselfish player and unselfish team, and you can't care who gets the credit. And quite honestly, the guys that buy in the best, they get the least rewarded, because they're the guys maybe setting that trap. Like yesterday, my favorite play was when Pop Isaac got the steal after the timeout and played through contact and got the and one. But the reason he got the steal was the great trap in the corner. Those guys aren't getting any of the credit. But again, that's what makes that system so unique. And I love the fact that Bucky was able to get different type players. He doesn't have, I don't mean this derogatory, but there's not an NBA player probably on that court. There may be, but that system really works when you have NBA type caliber. I thought they've done a marvelous job of putting together a team, like you said, in a late time, and then putting certain pieces in there, and they're able to beat anybody at any given time. So that's what makes it exciting.
For this team to have a legitimate chance at making a run to try to taste the postseason, is there a player that has to elevate where they are or continue what we've seen? Because when I ask that question, I think I have an answer in my head, but I want to hear what you say first.
Well, obviously, Aggie's playing above his level because he has to. I'm going to go Pop Isaac.
That's what I was thinking too.
So I'll be honest. I try to talk to my friends that have coached him, at the different places, and you wonder why a guy leaves and this and that. And, there's a lot of different reviews on him. But it didn't look like he was having fun when he was playing. He's been careless with the ball at times. But that, again, what makes him dangerous. But I thought yesterday when he got that and one, and then he was able to knock down those threes to get that lead stretched out,
that was the difference in the game. But it all was predicated, too, on all the little things prior to that. So I think he has to play more consistent, and he has to play more excited, happy, Hey, you're not going to...
Does he seem that way now, though?
He did in that game. Yes, he did. And then, again, even when he's playing elite, he's still only going to probably play 25 minutes a game. And guys aren't used to that. That's hard. But that's what makes these type of teams difficult to deal with when it's going well.
But 25 minutes in this offense, in this system, is a bigger toll on your body than maybe what we've seen in the past.
Correct. And sometimes 25 minutes of playing is more possessions than if you played 35 or 40 and another slow-paced team. So you have an opportunity to score just as many points. But it is a system that you really have to convince good players to come into it. They've got to want to be a part of it, and they've got to want to be winning has to be the most important thing. And that's, I always say, you need good players, but you need high-character guys that want to win. And that's what I think Bucky, I love listening to Bucky. He's a genius, and that's what he's recruiting. You look at the choices they had, they've done a great job with what they had. It was late, so they had to get who they could get.
The frenetic pace that they were playing at yesterday, I thought the Aggies seemed a little bit sloppy early with the ball. And is it because maybe both teams were sped up? Is that maybe why? Because there was a couple turnovers, that was just a bad pass, or there were some lazy passes too.
I love the word lazy. That's exactly what I would have said. Auburn likes it chaotic in their building. Obviously, I thought Bucky outcoached Pearl. No question. And I even said that in the scouting report. It was a first-year coach, meaning first-year Bucky being at A&M against a rookie coach, and you saw the rookie coach. He got rattled, and the players reacted to it. They just didn't do a good job.
You could see it in his body language.
You really could, and he's so emotional, and so I think he's going to struggle. This could be a big setback for them if they don't, respond properly. The one thing I will respect about them, they played such a difficult schedule. I thought they would be battle-tested going into this game, and even when they faced adversity, they would respond, but they didn't. But getting back to A&M, I just love the way the energy's there, and I'm so glad they won the game because now that's a focal point you can talk about in any situation you get beat down. If they hadn't won that, you haven't seen Bucky Ball really come back from a deficit or beat anybody at this point with a lot of credibility.
Jakari Lane, the numbers are, I watch him, I like him as a player. I like his ability to attack the basket. He has struggled with some numbers and whatnot. What have you seen from Jakari?
Loved him. I thought he was the key yesterday. When he hit the big three off the steal, and then just the fact he had 7 assists. But the play of the game, and it won't even go in the stats really, is when A&M was down 16. It looked like we were going to get blown out. They missed the shot. Jakari Lane got the offensive rebound. I think kicked it to. I'm not sure who had the assist, and they kicked it out. We nailed the three, and that was the first one that got it started. So the offensive rebound led to that three, and then he just put so much pressure on you defensively, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. And the fact Holloway, who I'm a fan of because he's been in the Bucky system, he barely plays yesterday. But, again, because the other guy stepped up, Pop Isaacs had an exceptional game. And that's the kind of attitude you have to have. You got to believe in your teammates, and when they're going good, you just got to sit over there and cheer for them.
I had a segment on this. I'm not trying to bag on Buzz. I'm not. Okay? Yeah. Because I've told you privately and on the show the things I liked and the things I didn't like, right? One of the things I didn't like, I don't even know if you were covering A&M at the time. You might have been, was the Penn State loss, okay? Where they abandoned, they didn't abandon. They shot so many threes because they said that was the only way they had a chance to come back, which to me was not quitting, but I didn't agree with the coaching, okay? Bucky, on the other hand, is like, 16 points, we can get back in that in a moment. So, I didn't agree with it with a team that was a bad shooting three-point team. I love it with a team that is a three-point shooting team. But what do you do when the threes aren't falling? Do you still stick with that same system?
Well, the answer is yes. And I think there's going to be some games where people are going to question the system. If we'd have lost yesterday, or A&M would have lost yesterday, I think there would have been a lot of critics out there wondering, hey, is this going to work? And there's still going to be some games where it doesn't work because you're playing really good teams. And this is a system, it's so up and down that if the ball's not falling or what made that work yesterday was the steals, and they led to threes. You know,
Right.
a lot of times against the quad 4 opponents, been getting a lot of steals, but they were maybe dead ball turnovers or things that didn't lead to easy threes. But I think you have to stick with it, and that's what I love about Bucky. He's so into analytics, but he's so believing in his system, and he stays with it. Now he's got to get those 5 guys that are playing on the court at the time to believe in it, and I think yesterday was a step in the right direction, no question.
Last thing for you. All right, so right now at 2-0, long way to go, right? And I'm a guy that wants to think about the tournament. Does this team it's still going to be very difficult. I'm not predicting tournament right now. But the fact that they're 2-0 with this start, they have a little bit of gravy, if you will, to try to get closer to that 10-win mark, if that's what it's going to take.
Sure. Well, Luke and I were talking earlier. I think 10-8 would get them in the tournament, but I guess I don't follow the analytics as much. What you need as far as levels of victories and all that. But if they went 10-8, what a success of a
Regardless,
season!
right?
Absolutely, whether they get in or not.
Wouldn't 8-10, considering wouldn't that be a successful season?
I think so too. Yeah. In fact,
not in the tournament, but just overall.
Absolutely. If you go 8-10, considering how late Bucky got the job and how balanced the SEC is, I mean 9-9. That means you're winning half your games, and there's a lot of good teams in this league. I'm sure there's going to be somebody that steps up and shows you how good they really are. And then I think like in LSU, I love the fact we had LSU in there. Nothing against them, but I don't think they're that good. I think they're a little soft. I think they're going to go down a little bit. Auburn's kind of showed you that they're not invincible. So it'll be interesting who's that 1 or 2 teams that go up and the 1 or 2 that go down. But I certainly think A&M's headed in the right direction with yesterday's victory.
Tom, appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. That's the great Tom Schuberth here on TexAgs Live. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the program, basketball template, Nick, help me out. I know we got Stephen McGee. I know we got the fan show.
Aaron Torres?
Oh, Aaron Torres, who texted me late night. He actually texted me at 11 o'clock at night. Bucky ball at 3 exclamation points. All right, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys mañana.